Boy. Alright, I'm back in the seat. Got some food in front of me. I'll chew on this for a couple of seconds. We get some water. Water's good. Bam. Nice full glass of water. Nice full cup of coffee. Oh. Got some pork and rice. Just quick to fill my stomach so I'm not hungry while I'm chit-chatting about all this new stuff. I'm really hyped for this new patch. It's going to be like a much needed boost to the vanilla game. I'm glad to see like there's some new stuff in Electric Church, which like they have a lot of flavor, so it's nice to see that there's going to be some new flavor in their ships as well. Would have been cool to see some more. And a couple more frigates, a couple more destroyers, maybe a couple more cruisers, but more battleships will definitely. Capital ships, more capital ships is definitely going to be nice. Especially since capital ships, like, you know, you have your cheaper ones and then you have your bigger ones, so it's going to be cool to have some more on each end. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm excited to play with that Tarsus. It'll be really cool. Let me pop open the second page. I'm gonna separate. Like, I'm hyped. I'm hyped for all of these guys. This guy especially. Like, this is going to be a really interesting new ship. And the fact that there's a... Like, now, though, we need a cruiser that has no shields. Like, I don't think there's a cruiser that has no shields. So, thinking about, you know, the next update, you know, in a year or two. Or is this thing supposed to be a cruiser? You know what? Maybe this is a cruiser. Maybe we are getting a new cruiser. I mean, it is described as a battle cruiser. Yeah, battle cruiser. I'm confused whether there's going to be a capital ship or a cruiser. I mean, looking at its weapon mounts, it could be either. Alright, 10,000 hull. Let's go off of that. What else has... What are you looking at for, like, hull rating on these guys? Like, they're pretty heavy on the hull. Like, the Odyssey has 1,000. The Conquest has 12,000. The cruisers... I see some thousands. Not 10,000s, I mean. Mostly less than 10,000. Maybe this is just a high-end cruiser, like a 30, excuse me, a 30 cost cruiser, or it could be like a 35 cost battleship. I mean, the Odyssey's labeled as a battle cruiser. So is the Conquest. Is there anything in here? Oh, these are just cruisers. So yeah, I guess so. It's going to be a capital ship then. Almost certain about that at this point. So I guess maybe a 40-point battleship, or maybe a 35-point battleship, 35-point capital ship. Oh, we can go by the mounts. All right, flux distributor is 20. Yeah, so it's definitely a capital ship. That's without a doubt. It's just, so I'm thinking like it's a 40 cost. That makes sense. It's going to be interesting. That's for sure. Pardon my chewing. I can hear it. I'm not sure. Where's our announcements? We'll open up the patch notes on the on here. Yeah, it's fine. Pop open. Boop, boop. So 1, 2, 3, 4 new capital ships. Lions Guard variants of several midline ships. And we've got a list of those. It's not just a big. There's a list in the post. Then we get 2 new ventures, so that's technically 2 new cruisers there, plus the Lions Guard variants. We have 2 new cruisers here, so technically there's going to be 4 air quotes new cruisers. There's going to be 4 variants. It does describe the variants as not just being a paint job as well. It doesn't get too detailed about them. Yeah. Aragon, Odyssey, and the Astral. Even split between warships, spaceships, and carriers. Instead of that, split between warships and spaceships, leaning more towards spaceships. With carriers and fighters only coming into play when the fleet gets the Astral. Antarctica already has a strong identity, so there's not too much to talk about. Just leaning into it a little bit more, giving their capital ships the opportunity to shine. Weapons and fighter-wise, they have a good range of options, including the most elite ones. Yeah, so Tritachyon, not getting a big update in this. But that's fine, because like they said, their identity is already pretty solid. So I think this works. So technically, 4 new cruisers with the 2 variants of the Venture, the variant Eagle and the variant Falcon. We're also going to be getting variant Manticore. I'm very excited for this variant Manticore. And a variant Hammerhead. Not sure, like, what is the variant Hammerhead going to be? Doesn't say. Okay, so there's not going to be any new special weapon mounts, but they're going to get built-in mods. The special modifications hull mod as well, which is this one that's technically a defect, I guess. Higher crew casualties, reduced flux dissipation, increased time to repair disabled weapons and engines, but it's nothing too drastic. So it's a general debuff. It doesn't say, and then it's going to get built-in solar shielding. That's going to be a thing on all of their ships as well, which is cool. I like that feel, that theme. So it'll be interesting to see, like, if these actually get any other changes to them, or if that's just going to be a paint job with those hull mods, which is all right. I mean, I like solar shielding. I can see myself leaning into these hammerheads, especially. So I like the hammerhead. Hammerhead with free solar shielding. That could be a fun ship to go exploring with. I already like grabbing hammerheads to go exploring because they're pretty easy to get a hold of, and they're pretty easy to maintain. They're pretty sturdy. And built-in solar shielding will help, especially with exploring, because it will help you fight the redacted. You know, that energy weapon. Solar shielding also reduces damage from energy weapons. I don't see this Falcon taking any spotlight from the Pirate Falcon, but across the board, getting that free solar shielding, that'll be nice. I would have expected to see another frigate. Maybe, so this is talking about, this shows these four, but maybe we'll see, because like the post didn't say anything about the Manicore, neither of these posts. So maybe we'll see some more that didn't get shown. Okay, so this is from April. July, September, October. Let me look at these other posts. Maybe there's more stuff in here. Part 3 in the faction series. Huh. Not sure what that is. Hostile activity. This is something I'm interested to see expanded on more. Hyperspace topography. I saw this post when it came out. I read the rest of the entry. Why isn't it read the full entry here? Okay. Alright, so hold on, let me bring up that other one. So this is one of a new story thing. And I didn't even know there was a Luddic Path story. I haven't really explored a lot of the story. I want to have to start just doing like faction-specific playthroughs, where I really focus on like exploring that faction instead of just doing what I normally do. But yeah, this is going to be like, it'll give you more of a warning for like pirate activity and the other like other things, so that like if there's a pirate base nearby, being able to deal with that in more ways than one, I guess. The hyperspace topography I'm really curious about. I'm going to go through this. Oh yeah, we're going to pour over these. And the update to the sprites, I'm interested to see how that works out too. We might need to redo our Tarsus boy if his sprite gets updated. I'm also really hype about this new support fighter. I think that sounds really cool. Alright, let's go back to the top. Some new story missions. I didn't realize there were other story missions besides the main quest, so to speak. I guess I gotta explore more in the other factions. Major event system and hostile activity. Major event. Those things are interesting to me because that sounds like it's going to be some more nuance to the game. like handle various hostile fleets found in the system with your colonies. Multiple causes for hostile activity, the use of AI cores, presence of pirate bases nearby, etc. So I guess the AI inspection won't just be a fleet dropping in on you. It'll be different. I don't know. Different causes have different resolutions. Yeah, I'm excited for more different kinds of events as well. No, hold on. Let me move. Kind of chat. So let's move this down to here. There we go. So now chat's back up on the page. The hyperspace topography event will be interesting. Oh, let's keep going. We're talking about hostile activity. If hostile activity is unchecked, colonies suffer penalties and eventually a major negative outcome of some sort, e.g. a raid or an act of sabotage, after which there is a lull. So I'm wondering if this means you can like interfere now with the Pather cells. So like this is. I'll have to read that post. We'll get into that post in a second once I'm done chewing. Oh, this is something I really needed to eat. The goal is to give players more warning before major negative events and a choice in whether they want to handle the resolve the causes individually to avert the negative outcomes, or despite hostile fleets and get it under control that way without addressing the cause. So that makes it sound like you can interfere with the Ludic path. I mean, and I guess the pirates as well. Like maybe you can stop a raid from building up by dealing with just regular pirate fleets that are harassing you. But I think most of this sounds like it's going to let you interact with the Ludic negative events a little bit more, which is nice. And yeah, it is a new framework for the events in general. I'm sure this is going to help a lot with modding because it's probably going to create a lot of new flags and programming that can be messed around with. So that'll be interesting to see. I'm really curious what this planet killer thing is. Hyperspace topography, player action. So these are both our posts up here. I'll get into those in a second once my hands are free from chewing. Various player actions improve their knowledge of hyperspace, unlocking a new bonus. Slipstream detection around colonies, which is very nice. I love being able to see slipstreams, so that's going to be very, very nice because the more and more I've been exploring, the more and more I learn about the hyperspace and stuff, it'll be really nice to have that extra sight. And I think this is going to make it a lot more viable, or not viable, but a lot more useful to have colonies spread out instead of having like all your colonies in one system. Spread them out a bit more, like surrounding the core world, so that way you can get a little more of a peek into the hyperspace topography. And if you have a colony out in deep space as well, like I think this is going to make those things like a lot more useful as well. Like, because one of the things I like doing that I did in my playthrough where I actually did the story, once I finished the story, it became a lot more viable to have colonies out in deep space. And so I literally made a couple of gas stations where it was like a gas giant and then a planet around the gas giant, so the gas giant provided the volatiles and the other planet provided fuel production. And it was literally a gas station for me, having those two planets nearby. The only thing is, though, is that I really still want to see some kind of an improvement to colony management where I don't need to use AI cores in order to have more colonies. Because it's a little annoying that I can't just hire more administrators. I don't know. We'll see. But nothing in here says anything about more administrators. Yeah, we already saw that the fleet compositions for factions are changing. We've seen how that's going to change. Specific weapons are now more reliably found at specific faction markets and black markets. That's good to know. because right now it can be hard to know where you need to go to find those weapons. So like needlers are going to be more reliably found in the hegemony, which is great because I'm really enjoying the light needler on a lot of my phase ships. So that's going to be great to see. New music? I didn't even realize the Persane League didn't have their own track. That's good. Also, the idea that when you have commerce, you can get a system-wide bounty added for hostile activity, that's cool. That's cool. So, like, now your own faction, first of all, it makes commerce a little bit better, even, to add earlier on, as opposed to waiting. I usually wait until for the last thing as I put in is commerce. But now it's like maybe the second or third thing I want to put in on at least one of my planets so I can get that system-wide bounty. I wonder if it stacks if you have multiple commerce built in. I also like that the contacts are going to be easier to identify in the comm directory. I haven't really had a problem with that. That's more because I'm so familiar with looking in, like going around, traveling around, and I'm very familiar with the contacts that are in there by default. But it'll still be nice to see those contacts will stand out a little bit more. That'll be nice. Especially if you get in contact with a similar portrait as someone that's already there. Which is another thing. I'm not sure where it says about this. Hold on. One of the things they're changing. Yeah. Officers for hire / from promotion will generally not share portraits with the player's existing officers. It's not guaranteed, and it's not a bug if they do share, but that is really cool to me. And there's going to be new player portraits. I'm very happy about this because a lot of times I will end up passing on an officer that I would otherwise hire because I don't want them to share a portrait. I don't want any clones. So now that there's going to be less priority given to portraits of officers I already have, I'm hoping it counts for administrators as well, but that'll bother me a little bit less if my administrator and my officer share the same portrait. I just like the idea a lot that it's going to be more rare, so when I do see it, it'll be cool. It'll be cooler. I think that what they should do, though, is they should have it be like, if they share the same portrait, maybe they share the same last name or something. So it's like, oh, it's their twin. Oh, it's their sibling. Something like that. But I'm just glad that it's not going to be as common, because it is a little thing that kind of bothers me a little bit that I never thought would be addressed. So I'm happy for that change. I think that's a great change. The custom production limit is increased, which I never had a problem with that, but I can understand, like, that could be bothersome. So it's nice that you can make, and it increases for everything. I can't imagine needing 100 units of anything, but maybe this is a thing that needed to be done. I don't know. It's still cool. I'm happy for that. Especially when I'm building, like, bigger things. It'll be nice to be able to build them in larger numbers. I don't know if I'll ever need 100 high-intensity lasers, but the fact that I can build 100 high-intensity lasers and 100 sunders, it pleases me. By the way, here's for you. Press F1, Omni, and the UI will not just hide, but it will also hide fleet circles. So you'll get a nice crisp when you zoom up. You can just watch your fleet and the planet you're orbiting. That's what you were looking for. Hey, Wooster, good to see you. How are you this morning? It's evening here. It's almost midnight, but I hear over in the Upside Down lands, you guys have the future. How's tomorrow look? Well, it's good to see you. I'm glad you could join us for a little bit. I'm still chewing on my snack, but we are discussing some of these new changes real quick. You already missed all the weapons and You already missed all the talk about weapons and ships, though. Have you seen the... I didn't realize that there were all these posts before about all these new ships that they're adding, so we've already got to see all these new ships that they're adding, basically. Oh, and you don't know about the patch notes. Yeah, there were some new patch notes put out. If you can check those out either on the Starsector page. If you just Google patch notes, it's on the Discord as well in the announcement section. The notes are out. The patch is not out. My guess is that since this has been being teased for so long, we're probably looking at it coming out within a month or two. But, we'll see. There's like 13, 14 new ships. I say new, air quotes. Half of them are variants. But they're going to be fun. It's the ones that were all described already. The Pegasus. The Lion's Guard variants. I'm really excited for not this guy, but this guy, the big blocky boy. I'm happy for him. He looks really cool. And what they did, and they talked about LP and Pirate Venture variants, which is kind of cool. And yeah, he looks strong. No shields, but I still want to play. I want to play. One of the things that they added, though, that they didn't talk about in any of the posts, is a Manticore, an LP Manticore, that has a large missiles slot instead of the large ballistic slot. And it has medium ballistic slots instead of medium missile slots, which I think that's really cool. That means you have a large missile slot in the destroyer size, which we don't have yet. Which is I think that's really cool. And it's definitely going to be an interesting ship to fly, for sure. And an interesting ship to outfit in general. And then there were a few balance changes, like the LP Brawler got moved up to 6 maintenance cost. A few of the other points got moved around. A lot of these things are interesting, not hugely impactful. But to me, the biggest impact, aside from the fact that we're getting a lot of new weapons, which is kind of cool, mostly missiles, but just some other cool things in here, like some couple new energy weapons. The biggest changes for me, though, are that the Graviton Beam is now going to debuff shields, so that the shields that the Graviton Beam is hitting will take extra damage from any source, and that stacks from 5 to 8 to 10% for having 1, 2, 3 beams on. The Ion Beam is getting reduced flux cost. The Pulse Laser is becoming more flux efficient. And the big thing for me, the Mining Laser is getting reduced to 1 OP cost for 1 ordnance point, and is getting changed to a hybrid mount, so it can be put in ballistic, energy, and hybrid slots. This means if you've got empty small mounts, you can just throw on some free point defense mining lasers. Oh, it's going to be so nice to have those. I am really hyped for these reduced cost mining lasers. And the Mining Blaster is getting a big overhaul. It's also going to be changed to a hybrid mount. And it's getting its damage changed, so it does less damage per shot. And then it's getting a charge system where it has charges up to a maximum of 4. It doesn't say it's going to fire faster, but to me it sounds like that means it's going to fire faster. Because otherwise this is a huge nerf. But if it dumps all 4 of those charges in the same 2 seconds that it would normally take for it to refire, then it's still going to have roughly the same burst damage. It's just not going to have good sustained fire. So it is a nerf for sustained fire, but I think it's a nice change overall. And the fact that it's going to become a hybrid weapon as well, so you can put it in ballistic and energy mounts. Like, that's a really good change. The Mining Blaster and the Mining Laser are getting some love. And I am excited to do my minor rebellion play, where I use civilian ships with all these mining lasers and mining blasters and take over the world. Also, the damage is being changed to include 100 extra armor only damage, which I'm assuming works like the Breachers, where it ignores damage reduction. and so it just punches armor harder. And the damage type is being changed to high explosive, which is sad because it means the shield damage isn't going to be as good. But it does mean that it makes kind of sense that the mining blaster would be able to punch through armor better. And this thing's going to do 500 damage per shot to armor. The mining blaster is actually going to be a legitimate, like, secondary weapon for punching armor, which energy weapons were missing. So this is kind of cool. I'm excited for this. And then, like, we get a fighter that I haven't seen talked about anywhere. It's got 0 roam range, so it sticks around the ship, and it always stays in front of the parent ship. And it's armed with a canister flak system, like the Manicore, and 2 light autocannons. This thing sounds really interesting. It sounds like it could actually support the main ship with taking down shields because of those 2 autocannons. Like, those work at a pretty decent range. It almost sounds like a low-tech version of the Xiphus wing support fighter. So I'm expecting to see like a two fighter wing size, maybe even a 1 fighter wing size, but probably a 2 fighter wing size with canister flaks and 2 light autocannons. That's going to be fun. That's going to be a lot of fun. So there's a lot of cool changes coming. I'm excited. The Legion is getting buffed. It's getting more ordnance points, which it sorely needs. The Gemini is no longer a civilian ship. It gets a little bit more ordnance points, a little more top speed. What else was really cool in here? The Medusa is getting more ordnance points. The Eradicator is going to cost more deployment points. The Eagle is going to cost less deployment points, so it's got a little bit of a buff. The Apogee is going to cost more deployment points. A lot of just, quality of life stuff that I'm very excited for. Very excited for. And the new weapons sound really interesting, especially the direct energy missiles. Those sound very cool. And they sound like they fill a lot of roles that missiles are actually lacking in. Plus the medium missile hammer that fires 3 bursts of hammers, the jackhammer. I'm excited for that. I'm not sure what lower than usual ammo means. Like, will that only have like 5 shots, maybe like 15 rounds? Who knows? I guess if you think about the harpoon pod, that has 12. So maybe the lower than usual is 9, and we're going to get 3 shots out of it. Then we're getting a large version of the Pilum, which will be nice. It fires 6 Pilums instead of the 3 that the small one does, and it's described as having a low ordnance points cost. That'll be kind of fun. A little more flexibility in the large missile systems. The Hurricane Merv is getting changed up. It's going to apparently have the sub-munitions apparently will have better accuracy, and they're being reduced from 9 to 7 little missiles that pop out. And I was doing a little bit of experimenting with this. Those extra 2 missiles that are getting taken away tend to miss smaller targets anyway. So while this is definitely it sounds like it's a nerf because it's just losing missiles, if the accuracy means that the missiles that hit, the missiles it does fire hit, that'll be nice. Maybe the Merv will be able to actually hit smaller targets. More reliably, that is. I'm excited all around. It definitely sounds like a lot of fun. Let me just shovel the rest of this rice inside of it. Let me see real quick. It's almost done. I don't know if I would call it a buff. Like I said, if the accuracy is really noticeable, then it's a buff. But otherwise, losing those 2 missiles means it's going to deal less damage. But if those 2 missiles missed anyway, is it really a nerf? We'll have to wait and see. all depends on how good that aiming, that the tracking buff is. So we've got some new story missions getting added. There was a whole post about this a while back. The Pilgrim's Path posted in July. I'm not going to go through this because this sounds like it's stuff that I actually don't really know about. I kind of want to go explore some more. I didn't realize there were some like path missions at all. Or maybe this is what that is that, hey, now there's some more story quests you can do for a different kind of thing. I don't know. I gotta go explore that. I haven't really done a lot of this stuff other than the main quest. I always just assumed that most of the missions were just random, that there wasn't any like extra story to explore. Then there's the new major events system, which handles hostile activity as well as hyperspace topography. And there's 2 whole posts about those things. So here, hostile activity. One of the design goals for the campaign layer of the game is that it should present the player with opportunities for combat. That doesn't mean that everything you do in a campaign has to lead to it, but it's a good thing to always keep in mind. Regardless, how does a feature of a mechanic give context and meaning to combat or lead into it directly? If you've been following the game, this is something you've probably read before. So in brief, this post is going to talk about some of the aspects of how establishing colonies leads the player towards combat. This already happens in the current release version of the game, and the changes I'll talk about here are 3 things: cleaning up some of the rough edges of the current approach, creating a system that makes it easy to add a variety of encounters, and building some infrastructure that can be used for other purpose, in particular implementing the end game. So this sounds like some more expansion of the colonies, which is nice. I was talking with Omni about this. The whole new system, the whole new major events system, is probably going to be really useful for modders to like be able to add their own content into the game and have it mesh in a little more efficiently. So current approach is that colonies attract piracy. You get smaller pirate fleets just hanging around. Occasionally you get bigger pirate raids. And there are also nearby pirate bases which add pirate activity penalty. They needed to be cleaned out periodically. This is fine conceptually, but in practice, the smaller fleets don't actually matter all that much. You don't have much incentive to clean them up, either positive or negative. The larger raids are unpredictable, and it's difficult to tune their frequency so that there's enough of them and enough nearby pirate bases, but it doesn't also leave the player feeling like they're playing whack-a-mole, which I honestly already feel like I'm playing whack-a-mole when it comes to these bases. I tend to ignore them. Like, most of the time I set up my colonies for very specific reasons. Like, I want a place to go get fuel. I want a place to go buy weapons. Not go store my weapons or to go manufacture things. I don't really care about the income so much because I can make more income trading than I ever could with the colonies. The passive income is nice when they get built, but that's very rarely what I'm thinking about when I build a colony system. So it's cool to see that like it won't feel like a chore taking care of these pirate bases. And it also sounds like further down that there's going to be some a way you can interact with the Ludic base, the Ludic path cells, without having to just go destroy the base. Yeah, it definitely gets old very quickly. This also doesn't help any if we wanted to add a new type of hostile fleet that the player might need to deal with in shepherding their colonies towards success. In fact, that can be a little difficult because we have to consider the combination of all the various types of activity, so adding a new one might mean tuning down the frequencies of some existing ones. It'd be nice to have a more unified way of handling various types of hostile activity. So yeah, absolutely. Sounds like they're on top of this. This is the first time I've dealt with any patches or anything because I'm very new to the game as far as time is concerned. Like I haven't been playing, I think, except since like after some of these have come out. Like I think I started playing around the summer. So yeah, I've not seen like how these patch notes, like this patch history, all these notes, like that's fantastic. I really want to start watching this page and keeping an eye on it. But yeah, this is it sounds like it's very in tune with what's going on because it's exactly what the problem is with the current system. And it sounds like this new system is really going to address it, just from what I've already read. Capital E, events. For this, we need a new concept. Let's call it an event. The rough idea is that we have something that progresses through stages with various factors affecting the rate of progress. When things happen with various stages are reached, some of the inspiration for this comes from event tracks for various board games, and seeing something similar in Heretic Operative, which is basically a board game in computer form, and which I universally recommend. This might not sound like a great fit for keeping track of hostile activity around the player's colonies. Initially, I wasn't thinking of doing it that way. The event concept was still there, but intended for other things. The initial approach was to handle hostile activity as just a regular type of intel item, tracked separately. For each star system the player has colonies in. Here's an older work in progress, so we don't have to look at the older one, I guess. The problem is, using it. Alright, anyway, the problem is this gets to be a lot to ask of the player to keep track of once they get up several star systems. Never mind some extreme cases where the player uses AI cores to colonize half the sector. Yeah, I'm not too worried about that case, but also, it'd be nice if things didn't break down completely when that happened either. Good point. There's also a more subtle, not problem exactly, but let's call it concern. This hostile activity is something that players need to interact with. What happens when they destroy a hostile fleet? What about, say, if they build a military base? With the initial approach, this meant adding a suppression mechanic, which you can see in the screenshot, which works, but it's something that other potential interactions may or may not slot neatly into. In fact, just trying to figure out how to make it work with military bases was a pain. You want enough suppression that it matters, not so much that it trivializes the fight or encourages building all of your stuff in the same system with many bases, etc. To put it another way, every interaction you want to factor into this becomes its own special case, which isn't always a bad thing, but on average, it's going to mean fewer types of interactions and a bit more potential awkwardness in cases where they need to be shoehorned in a little too much. Okay, well, so it sounds like it's going to make it I've been focusing my colonies in one area most of the time, and this is largely because I don't want to have to fly around to manage them. But it sounds like with this new event mechanic and the way that the military bases, one military base might actually be able to be all you'll need to at least make a colony a little more independent. You could potentially, combining this especially with the hyperspace topography, where your colonies can let you know, where the hyperspace, what do they call, slipstreams are around them. That already feels like you're encouraged to now build colonies much more spread out. So it's nice to see that defense-wise, that's going to be a little more viable too. Because that's what it sounds like here. Is it's going to be a little easier to defend multiple colonies without having to Because I've always just assumed that the best way to defend your colonies, if you have multiple colonies, is just to stack them on top of each other, stack all the fleet bonuses you can. My newest one, I put an AI core in my high command, and as well as the cryo-arithmic engine, and I'm still getting harassed by pirate activity, and I'm just like, why? Why is it when my fleets can literally solo the AI fleet inspection, or the AI inspection fleets, why am I still being harassed by pirates? Why? So hopefully this will kind of make that a little easier to at least understand, if not manage. That'll be fun. Alright, so this per star system intel item hostile activity approach worked and factored in the things it needed to, but didn't feel right. Since I was at the time thinking through the event system, it was natural to consider if that would be a better fit. My initial thought was to use an event instead of each of these intel items, and to be clear, events are also intel items, just handled a little differently, with more UI space and some specifics about how they work. The reason for doing one item per system is because we want to track the types of hostile activities per system. For example, if one colony is using a bunch of AI cores, it makes sense for there to be more athletic path activity in that system, not in all of your systems. More important than it makes sense is that it's also more interesting. Okay, if you go to different systems, you get more variety of what type of enemies you encounter. Yeah, sure. Okay. Makes sense so far. here we have the page. It's got a whole, okay, so we got colony threats as its own tab in the intel page now. That's kind of cool. It looks a little bit clunky. I wonder if this is the final one. But one item per star system is just too much. This is far from the only thing the players need to keep an eye on, so it just felt impossible to justify. In retrospect, the solution seemed obvious. Only have one event, but keep track of the types of hostile activities separately for each star system with that event. Overall event progress can still be shared in common, with some nods to colony individuality here too, and we can use the same intel item to show a breakdown of what's going on in each star system under your control. It's probably starting to get a little vague, so let's dive into some specifics. Factors and causes. Hostile activity has a bunch of different factors. These represent different types of activity: pirates, pathers, etc. Each factor can have multiple causes. So if there are multiple different reasons for why pirates are interested in the colony, there's a pirate base nearby, the colony is unstable, Pirate Queen Kanta is unhappy with you, perhaps it's all those times you pretended to be working for her and to get out of trouble, you'll get more and bigger pirate fleets there. Factors and causes are tracked per system. The factors are contributing to a total value to event progress. Regardless of which system they're in, the event stages track increased levels of impact on your colonies from low impact, where only a small fraction of your colonies, the worst hit ones, are affected in small way, to extreme impact, where all of your colonies suffer heftier penalties. So over time, if left unchecked, hostile activity event will progress through these stages. Alright, I wonder how that's gonna, like, what kind of penalties you're gonna get. Like, does it then, like, And what it sounds like is that you may actually be able to handle and deal with the pirate activity a little easier. So, okay. I mean, it's just sounding like it's achieving its goal, but I'm wondering if it's gonna mean, like, part of me wonders if this is just gonna mean more busy work for my colonies. Like, that's my main concern. But, I don't know. It's clear that with the goal here is to avoid doing that, so I guess we'll see how it actually gets implemented. In addition to stages, there are a couple of randomized outcomes along the way. Pretty early on, there'll be a small pirate raid on one of your colonies. This will only happen once. It's also possible that something else might happen instead of that. When/if more types of hostile activity are added, though currently pirate raid is the only possibility. There's also a major randomized outcome when event progress fills up all the way. What the outcome actually is gets determined some months ahead of time when event progress crosses a specific threshold. Currently, the possible outcomes are either an active path or sabotage or a large pirate raid. This outcome is repeatable. Once it happens, event progress drops back a fair amount, representing a lull in hostilities after matters come to a head. And if the event progresses up to that threshold again, a new outcome will be rolled. The important thing here is that player gets ample warning about when something bad is about to happen, as opposed to events like this being completely random. Another important aspect is that the player can take various actions to avert these outcomes. Also, since event progress is abstracted into points, either gained over time or applied as a result of one-off actions, it's easy to tie anything we want into the system and have it instantly matter. The goal is to give the player many different options in how to handle these, and to shape the way the game plays to their own preferences. Yeah, this is definitely going to be something that's really cool for modders to play around with. I imagine it's going to be a lot of fun to, like, customize your own scenarios for these kind of events. Definitely going to be something that modders are going to mess around with. In fact, this may actually change up all of, like, how a lot of the advanced 4X mods, like, play, because a lot of the ways you interact with other factions could be handled as events, as opposed to just... I'm not familiar with those mods, so I can't really comment too much, but it seems to me like you get a lot of mileage out of this event system as far as, like, making custom events, both negative and positive. I guess we'll get to know more about other options in the hyperspace thing. because that's another thing that uses the event system. And finally, the third option is to address player choices. Here we are. So what choices does the player have? The first one is to just ignore hostile activity. Colony impact is only mildly painful, and even pirate raids aren't that bad if they succeed. They'll knock colony back for a few months, resulting in some lost income, but there's some compensation from the lull coming afterwards. Or the player can elect to just deal with the raid/other outcome, but let hostile activity run its course otherwise. Which kind of is like sort of the current system I employ, which is just ignore it until it becomes so much like of a problem that you have to just go deal with it. And a lot of times I just ignore it completely and never deal with it. It's like, I don't care that my colonies aren't making money. I'm making more money. That my colonies are just a front for my illicit drug trade anyway. Or heavy weapons dealing or any of that. Like, I'm not concerned necessarily if I'm losing like 10-20% of my income, or my monthly income because of pirate raids or pather cells, if I can make $1 million on a single good weapons deal or drug trade, $500,000 on a weapons deal or a full $1 million on a real big drug delivery, like it's so. If it makes it easier to deal with those things where I won't have to go super far out of my way, because a lot of the times the problem is like I need my fleet that I'm flying is usually really slim and small these days. So I would have to literally put together a whole special task force of myself, of putting, get some bigger ships that I can engage an actual base with, especially if it's a bigger base, and you don't know how big the base is going to be until you go lay eyes on it. And if it's a bigger base, you're going to need bigger ships in order to be able to sustain yourself against it. So it's good to know that, like, there'll be more ways besides having to take on a station to be able to deal with these problems. The other option is to fight the symptoms. You can build a military base to slow event progress, and there's a further event stage at around the halfway mark where increased defenses further slow event progress. In addition, most importantly, destroying enemy ships in or near your systems will push back event progress. Yeah, nice, because that's really easy to do. As long as your fleet is big enough, you can auto-resolve these, and that would be like, instead of... Now, I'm going to say this does still add an extra layer of whack-a-mole to the whack-a-mole game, because now I'm going to be engaging these smaller fleets that I would probably typically ignore. But, at the same time, if it means, like, getting to avoid some of the penalties, I don't know. I mean, it's nice to have more variety, and I could definitely see newer players who are not as jaded definitely enjoying the idea that they can whack these fleets instead of having to go whack a station. Oh, for sure. Because stations can be really intimidating when you're a new player. So this will probably be really, really good system for newer players. And in general, it's more nuanced, it's more polish. I'm really happy for this system. So I'm really excited to see it get implemented. If it's pushed back far enough, this can cause outcomes like the pirate raid to be averted. The player could choose to do a bit of this to keep things in check, or devote more energy to it, keeping event progress, and thus its impact on the colony operations right around 0. And finally, the third option is to address the cause. Almost every cause has some kind of resolution, usually one with a narrative flavor so the player can tell themselves a fun story about how they dealt with the aspect of the problem. In a way, hostile activity event is almost a hub of missions the player can do, with a description of each cause hinting at how it might be resolved. For example, while not trying to spoil anything, would be, say, making a deal with the station king of a nearby pirate base, reducing your dependency on AI cores, or some way to reach an understanding with the Pathers, and so on. This is a particularly significant aspect to this of this approach. There's a lot of content here, including some one-off special ship modifications. Okay. What? And potential to add more. Alright, now I'm a little more excited. Here's the treat. Okay. That sounds like it could be some really interesting new stuff. And definitely some more flavor. I like the sound of that. The idea of being able to reason with the Pathers is very interesting. Because, I mean, like having more interaction with them. Like, this definitely sounds interesting. And I could easily see, like, if you've got a lucrative colony, you just bribe the pirates, bribe the Pathers, throw some money at them. Why not? Like, I would do that on some of my files easily, just to not have to deal with it. It's just like, here's a tribute. Leave me alone. See you next year. See you next, hopefully not month. See you next year. Thing, please. Oh yeah, for sure. Because a lot of the problems that I have with the pirates, raids is that, getting that shortage of supply, that can really mess up your whole system. Because, like, if I don't get the metal I need, then I'm not building the plates that I need. If I'm not building the plates that I need, I'm not getting the supplies that I need. And if I'm not getting the supplies that I need, then my whole system is having an issue. Yeah. This will be fun. This will be great. I'm a little more excited now. A combination of these three approaches, or two if we don't count just ignore the problem as an approach, though to me it certainly is one, should let the players find something that suits their preferences. Basically, a lot of this is about letting players tell the game what they want. Do they want to fight a bunch of fleets in their system? Perfect. Just don't address the cause. You'll get stuff to fight, but you'll mitigate the effects on your colonies. Do you want to not have to worry about it? Build a military base, resolve the cause, and you're good. Want to fight some large pilot expeditions? Ignore the problem for long enough, and it'll get your wish. Yeah, alright. Although, with the colony bonus that you get now from building commerce, the bounty thing they're adding. Now, where was that? Commerce now adds low-level system-wide bounty with hostile activity level is high enough. That means, like, if you do ignore it to a point, and you let it get high enough, like, being able to have that bounty trigger, like, you may end up making it, like, there might be a way to make money out of it. I don't know. Yes, it also depends on if commerce, having multiple commerce industries, will stack that bounty. That'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing this. Extensions and interactions. The addition system is set up to make it easy to add different types of hostile activity, to add more variety to the encounters. Right now, it's just pirates and pathers, though you'll see larger pather fleets than you would before sometimes. Another idea I'd been considering, not implemented yet, please don't hold me to it if it doesn't pan out for whatever reason, would be Tritachyon-sanctioned commercial raiding. One could think up some plausible excuses for getting other faction fleets tied in too, but more importantly, the system allows for the flexibility of X happened, and there's a new type of hostile fleet that you'll encounter in one or more of your systems until you resolve the cause. In other words, this can be a dynamic, the outcome of other missions or events, not something that's more or less fixed. I was assuming that there'd be more in here than just pirates and pathers. I figured, like, all the task forces would be in here too. But in the notes, under hostile activity, it does, no, it doesn't. Never mind. I was reading into the use of AI cores as maybe meaning the hegemony would be one of the events. Them sending AI inspectors and things like that. But I'm guessing that's just more to deal with the pathers. But I could easily see this, like, moving into, like, something where you could go, where it's like a war mechanic for other factions in the core game. So, like, if you're, hostile with a faction, hostile activities of that faction, sanctioned raiding from Tritachyon, like that was mentioned, or other, factions, I could see that easily getting implemented. I'm honestly shocked that it's not, something that was more discussed in here, but still, it's nice to have this framework. I think it's going to be really interesting. And here we go. Commerce industry adds a semi-permanent bounty to all of your systems once the impact gets high enough, posted by the independent commercial interests that are operating in your systems. This both makes commerce a more interesting pick than working on a few other things in that direction, but mum's the word, and shows how other mechanics can tie into the system. And finally, this is the groundwork for implementing the end game. I think one can easily see how an event that progresses through stages, with lots of factors affecting the progress, will be useful for representing more momentous happening. More momentous happenings. Yeah, alright, so this is cool. This is cool. I'm hyped. It's another, like, even if this was the only thing coming out, this would still be a pretty cool update. But the fact that we're getting all of that, as well as a whole bunch more, a whole page of more stuff, like, it's gonna be exciting. I'm excited. Let me just check just want to make sure I don't miss anything on Discord. Okay. Okay, so hyperspace topography major event. Various players' actions improve their knowledge of hyperspace, unlocking new bonuses. Slipstream detection around colonies, much more efficient slipstream travel, and increased speed in hyperspace. I mean, slipstream travel is already pretty efficient, but I'm interested to see how that works out. Let's read. Alright, primarily this is the system that interacts with slipstreams. In brief, those are temporary passages in hyperspace that can make travel much faster and enormously more fuel efficient. One of the problems, though, is that it can be a little hard to plan for. There are some general indicators of where they are and where they might take you, i.e. the direction they travel is seasonal, and you can use the neutrino detector ability to find them. I didn't know that. Okay, that's good to know. And so on. But I think for a lot of players, that doesn't quite add up to being enough to make slipstreams as useful as I'd like them to be. Yeah, does not. Absolutely not. I mean, they're still really useful. And I didn't even know about the seasonal directional thing, which honestly is kind of awkward, but it's good. It's good. It's fun. It basically means if you go out, if you like plan your exploration right, you can ride a slipstream out, stay out for like enough time that the slipstreams change directions, and then ride a slipstream back, and it can make exploration really handy. Oh, center of Trinity system scanned. Hyperscreen topography plus 30. Okay, interesting. The second goal here is to tie colonies into it, making different industries and structures you build have some gameplay meaning aside from just influencing colony stats. It's sort of an ongoing backburner project. See, for example, commerce adding in bounties. Yeah, we just read that. In addition, I'd like various mechanics to encourage players to spread their colonies around, making their location matter more than finding the ideal system with mutually supporting military bases. Yeah, so like I was saying, that makes sense, because it honestly feels kind of weird. Like, when I fully colonize a system, it feels like that's wrong. Like when I'm looking at the system, the way everything behaves, it's like I've done too much. Like, it doesn't feel right. Like, having a couple in the same one is alright, but if you fully colonize Penelope, it feels a little too busy. Which is fun, I like it, but it's like, it doesn't feel like that's how it's supposed to be. Whereas spreading things out never really felt right either. Well, I love it too, but it feels like spreading the colonies out doesn't really have as much of a benefit that it should. I don't know, but this will definitely make it much more exciting to spread out your colonies if it means you can have a better eye on like the navigation while exploring deep space. So I'm excited for this. And I'm also excited to see how hostile activity, the event system, changes up defending your colonies. Like I said, it might make it more viable to have those colonies be more independent as opposed to piling them all in one system, which that I'm excited for the idea of. There's a hyperspace topography event. Basically, the player does stuff, a progress bar fills up, and different effects are unlocked along the way. Unlike the hostile activity event, all the factors here are one-offs, or something the player did. There aren't any monthly contributing factors. Let's start with the effects. Slipstream navigation. This one is pretty quick to unlock and reduces fuel use while in the slipstream by a further 50%. It's a useful early bonus even before you have colonies. Yeah, alright, that's cool. I mean, like I said, the slipstreams aren't like... I mean, it would definitely make them worth seeking out, and if you have the neutrino detector, now that I know that points towards them, which I guess that makes sense. I kind of noticed that was a thing, but I didn't really use it. But now that I know this, like I'm definitely going to start looking for them more because I've been getting more and more into using them to get around. Because I have like a whole new approach to how I explore. Whereas instead of scouring every single system and every single planet, I focus on the high value things. So now just like jumping around different slipstreams to get to different areas, just to explore those different areas, could be fun. I mean, I'm not having a problem with fuel use though, but still, having a bonus is a bonus. Slipstream detection. This is the big one. Spaceports constructed at your colonies will reveal nearby slipstreams on the map. Constructing a few sensor arrays nearby will increase the detection radius, as will colony growth. This both gives a spaceport a neat in-game effect. Not that it needed one. You're always going to build one at a colony, but it's nice to have that. Where does it say? Where does it say? Slipstream detection range, 8 light years. That's a pretty big range. Like, it's not huge, but that's a pretty big range. And it's a base 3 range, or base 3 and plus 3 base detection range. Plus 3 because of the colony size, so that's basically going to be plus 6 to start with. And then claim sensors arrays. Oh! This is very interesting. Claimed sensor arrays within 5 light years. It's a max of 3, but this means going to nearby systems and building satellites will help your detection range. So a basic colony, level 3, can have up to a 9 bonus if you have 3 extra sensor arrays built around. And the 9 is pretty large. Let's open the game up real quick and talk about and look at the map. So the distance here is 5. I think it's like they're 5 across. Here is 8. 9. 9 is out to there. So that's what we're looking at here for a basic colony. And it's all the way around. So that's a pretty chunky distance. Like if you put that on a corner, it'd be 3 tiles, about 3 tiles. Are these 2.5? Is there a place like I think these are like 2.5 light years. Oh, there's a thing. Hold on, there's a scale. Alright. That's 9 light years. So yeah, they're 3 light years across. That's pretty cool. So a basic colony, after you build up 3 arrays and nearby systems, and within 6 light years. So if you had it like with Penelope here, any of these these arrays, I built if I built arrays in these areas, which these are inhabited systems. I wonder if it counts for allied. It says claimed though. So for Penelope, I wouldn't be able to get a lot because there's not a lot nearby. Well, this one's close enough. 5.6, but that one's 7.8. So I would only be able to get 2, the one in Penelope, but maybe I could build 2 in this one. I wonder if they can be in the same system. If I built 2 in this black hole system, if they would both count, and I would get to my total of 3. But like Penelope would tell me about like all of this. Essentially, any slipstreams out here I would get to know about from Penelope. That's pretty good. That's a really interesting ability. So like on a larger system, you really would need a lot of coverage to get the full picture, but not necessarily, because I mean if you had it in a few key areas, like instead of like I have this guy up here. This one will detect out to like here. So it would be this entire area here. And then Blost here would do this entire, I would definitely want to spread these out further now. But Blost is like around here. So like that's covering this entire chunk here. And I would kind of get, no, not a huge picture, honestly, I would put I'm going to definitely start putting my colonies out a little bit further so that I can get better detection. I also have this one over here. So I would have this entire chunk kind of mapped out for, like, I would be able to see, like, that there's slipstreams. First of all, you'd be able to see right away which way they're going, so you'd know what time of season it is. But I could tell if, like, I have an easy one that's pointing me up towards that corner or down towards this corner. Like, yeah, this is going to be a really interesting mechanic. I'm excited for this. It definitely makes colonizing a little further out a lot more viable. However, I feel like colonizing in the corners, the extreme corners, now becomes a little less exciting because you're essentially only getting like a third or a quarter, actually, of the 1/3 to a quarter of the map that you would get revealed if you had colonized. So, like, if I colonized in this extreme corner, actually, if I colonized like this guy here, way up here, this is basically worthless as far as detection goes. I only know if there's something coming in and out of this area, like around here. But then again, if that's where my colony is at, it lets me know if I can get to it easily. So I would be able to plan a little more to get all the way out there. But I feel like, colonizing in, okay, so like, air quotes, the inner ring, which isn't always the same, becomes, a lot more, well, especially closer to the core worlds, becomes a lot less exciting. But like this inner ring becomes a lot more viable, because now it can help you get, with keeping track of the slipstreams for getting from the core out to the deep. Yeah, so colonies become a lot more valuable at that middle range. It also means if you have like a lot of colonies in like a specific corner, you might want one that's like a little bit closer, so you can get a bigger picture of like how the travel is between you and the core worlds, or vice versa. Yeah, it's definitely going to be exciting. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm hype. I'm easy to get hyped, but I'm hyped. This also makes the location of colonies matter more, right? Yeah. You're naturally encouraged to spread them out a little bit to get a better view of slipstream network, and there's a bit of a explore the surroundings and build up to the area you've colonized feel for the sensor array bonus. Yeah, I'd like to see more bonuses than that. I'd like to be able to see the implementation of players building mining stations. I want to see some orbital habitats. I want to see some research stations. I think that would be really cool to be able to do, especially the mining stations, because I feel like there's a lot of times where I don't want to colonize a crappy, like, okay, it's not crappy. They're not crappy. Like, when I colonize, like, a habitable planet, let's go back to the game. Like, here. These guys. Like, if this was my main world, and I was happy here, the idea of having to go colonize another planet just to get rocks and volatiles, and then having to go find that other planet that I have to colonize, like, here I was convenient, I had this guy here, but I don't want to colonize this guy in the same system. He's not really that great for the mining. I did it just to have another colony in the system to build the high command on, but honestly, like, then to explore the nearby systems, to, like, have to make another colony, a second colony, so I feel like if you could do a mining station to get volatiles, organics, rocks, things like that, I think that would be very cool, and it would make a lot more, make exploring the nearby systems viable. Like, maybe if you build a mining station, it can provide ore to a colony within X light years of it, and as if that colony had a mining, was getting mining from its own planet, so basically, and they're expensive though, like an orbital station expensive, but it'd still be really, really useful because it would save having to, like, colonize a whole planet just to mine. I don't know how research stations or orbital habitats might figure in, but I just think mining stations for sure would be really cool. I mean, I always figured the pirate ones and the Leadite ones were ones that they just took over. But like but you're right. Yeah, they build stations out in the middle of nowhere, and that's kind of what I'm getting at. Is like being able to build a station like that, only more specialized. I think it'd be cool, and it could help lead into the whole like the event system, where if you have like another station nearby, I don't know, it'd be kind of fun, and it would maybe make like the systems that have no planets. Like you've got like this guy here. He's got no planets. He's got stuff for satellites. Well, if I could plop down a space station here that is like, maybe it doesn't mine anything. Maybe it's just there as a platform to store fuel. A way station, a literal way station out on another system. Then this becomes not so bad because it's got 3 stable points to support that station that I could build. I think that would be a very cool thing to add. But anyway, I don't want to get too off topic. Last major effect. This event grants a +3 maximum burn while in hyperspace. Not slipstream related, but in the same things that make travel through hyperspace easier vein. Huh. Wonder what that looks like. Is that going to be 23, or is that going to mean like when you're not doing a sustained burn? But that'll still be really helpful, even if it's not letting you break the cap, because when you hit a deep hyperspace, you slow down a lot, but having that extra burn, that would definitely speed you up a lot. And finally, when you get to the end of the progress bar, you get topographical data item that you can sell for a reasonable but not excessive profit. Once you get that item, the bar is reset to slightly above the points required for hyperspace optimization, and you get another data chip when the bar fills up again. Interesting. Okay. So I'm guessing it's like based on what I saw up here, where it's like, you get a bonus for scanning the middle of this system. It sounds like it's just going to be another way to get more money out of exploring, which is nice, especially if it's 50,000. That's a pretty nice chunk of change to add on top of exploring. I mean, exploring is already incredibly lucrative, but that'll be nice. The point of this is so that doing things that move event progress forward still has some value. It doesn't just feel pointless once all of the effects are unlocked. The data is not valuable enough that you'd really feel forced to prioritize doing these things, so hopefully it won't bend play patterns much. Yeah, I mean, I can see that. Factors. So what can the player actually do to move this along? There are a bunch of assorted things. Find data in derelicts, using an active sensor burst on interesting locations, such as near a black hole and so on. One of the core ones is using a sensor array to emit a neutrino burst into hyperspace. This 1 requires a bunch of volatiles. 2 gives you progress points for the event, and 3 reveals nearby slipstreams. The action can't be quickly repeated in the same area, so it's not something you can just grab a bunch of volatiles and farm up. Yeah, you say that, but well, what do you mean same area? Because I will absolutely do a farm of sensor arrays and farm deep space data. Like how much volatiles does it use? What's the margins here? I can totally see myself with a whole sensor farm. Like you better stop me. So all right. Anyway, still sounds fun, and it gives another use for volatiles, which are otherwise not really like. I mean, they're good for the neutrino detector, but like volatiles in general are underwhelming. They're probably the most underwhelming resource that isn't, I mean, yeah, there's food and metal and stuff like that, but that's underwhelming for a reason. Volatiles, like, you can't even trade them in large numbers. They're incredibly underwhelming. At least with food and ore and metal and stuff, you can feel like you're a champion of, like, the little guy by just dealing with food and selling food. But, like, with volatiles, it's like, man, I don't want to be Gas Daddy's, volatile bitch and just bring him resources all the time. Like, come on. I don't want to be bringing volatiles around. Like, it's so rare, too, that volatiles, you end up with a situation where you can make a lot of money on them. Aside from abusing the orbital lamp. Anyway. You can also talk to scavengers to get this data with similar effect. The result is weaker, less reveal range, and fewer points, but it costs credits instead of volatiles and is generally cheaper. I mean, hey, a reason to talk to scavengers who may or may not want to eat you, that's alright. And finally, you got more topographical data for time spent traveling very quickly, i.e. at burn level 20 in hyperspace. Okay, well, I already do that. I wonder how much that's going to help. So, alright, makes exploring a little more lucrative, a little easier. That's fun. I think it'll make it, it adds more nuance. I'm excited. Alright, skill. Taking a step back, this hyperspace topography is similar to a different take on skills. It's closer to, say, the way the Elder Scrolls games approach skills, a progress bar that goes up as a player does stuff. This is a bit of a warning sign that that sort of skill system can encourage interesting player behavior, such as standing in a fire, jumping up and down, and casting healing spells on yourself to level a whole bunch of things up at once. I think we should be mostly safe, though, because the factors are not easily grindable. So, aside from going through slipstreams really fast, there isn't much a player can do to repeat an action that gives them event progress. And all of these ultimately take up a resource, fuel supplies, and so on. So something like a Let's Visit All the Black Holes and other interesting space phenomena tour would be expensive. I mean, that's debatable. You'd be better off doing other things along the way, at which point it's just something that's spicing up normal gameplay a bit. Worst case scenario, some of the factors turn out to be more grindable than I think they'll be. But even then, this isn't something where you need a long time to unlock the most meaningful bonuses. And once you're in the stage where you only benefit, where the only benefit is periodically getting a topographical data item, that's not worth enough to specifically aim for. Still, this is worth keeping in mind when looking at this sort of system and events in general. Honestly, this paragraph kind of brings up something that I hadn't really been thinking about, but how cool would it be if every skill you got on your character was tied into this kind of a system? So this system specifically is for the sensor skill. Like, you can't do any of this. Or maybe you don't get as much of bonuses if you don't have the sensor skill, let's say. And then each skill has similar things you can do that will allow you to get improvements in that skill. That could be really cool. Like, maybe not the combat skills, because the combat skills you can already make elite with story points. But it would be interesting if you could get, like, a bonus to ballistics for, say, securing so many ballistic skills, or kills. Like, maybe getting the elite version for free instead of having to spend a story point on it. But more importantly, I think it would make some of these other less exciting skills, let's say, a little more interesting. Like, what if with bulk transport, you can get a bonus, like, more of a bonus for delivering larger volumes in single trades. So, like, not talking about, like, delivering a few hundred weapons, but, like, if you deliver 10,000 ore, getting a little bit more bonus from bulk cargo or something. Like, that would be kind of cool. Or if you, like, stay out in deep space without revisiting, like, without buying fuel, if you literally just manage to salvage all the fuel you need, maybe containment procedures gets a little bit of a buff. I think it would be interesting. Definitely add more nuance to the skills if you could get them, like, if you could have, like, a bunch of skills that you could increase. Anyway. Another valid question to concern is, why do this as an event? You could imagine a setup for space where the spaceport just has this revealed slipstream effect out of the box. The slipstream travel costs less fuel to begin with. You could still use sensor arrays to scan for nearby slipstreams, but this info from scavengers and so on. The event structure is not really required. There is no definitive, clear-cut reason to do it this way. However, there is some less definitive ones. First off, it spices up exploration. Completely agree there. When you find something neat and scan it, the game will acknowledge that. Second, it's a good way to introduce and explain these mechanics. And finally, this isn't really a reason for you, the player, but it's a reason for me. It's an opportunity to experiment with the event system and get a better feel for what's for what it's good for, and how things that use it can shape up. And I don't think doing it this way actually hurts anything. The one argument that I can see against it would be clutter, which fair enough, but there's not really much of it. A single intel item, importantly one that doesn't need periodic checking on, and occasionally notifications when you do something in the event progress. Yeah, no, I like it. I like the implementation in general. That like there's going to be more things to do while you're exploring. That is definitely fun. I like the idea of it being tied like to bonuses. So I would love to see more events for like different things. I think this kind of ties into navigation as well as sensors. But it would be cool if like there was like an industry version of events and a leadership version of events. Like maybe their like officer promotion could be tied to an event. Like, you know, promoting one of your crew to an officer. And maybe even like I can't think of any combat events necessarily, because I mean that's kind of the Pather and Luddic one, but like something with bonuses. Like I love the idea of getting bonuses. Getting bonuses in games are great. Finding those hidden bonuses, finding those things that you didn't know were going to buffing you. Like when I found out that these phase shifts affect your sensor profile, oh boy, was that a game changer for me. I was so hype about that. Or that the size of your fleet, not just the number of ships, but their composition, affects how slow you move through hyperspace, as well as nebula in general. Like how that your fleet gets slowed down by that kind of stuff. Like that mechanic, I don't believe is really talked about anywhere in the game. But it's a little bit of a bonus that I just started noticing. So it's like, it'd be cool to see more things that you could do. Like I'm excited for this event system. I think it's going to be a huge hit, and I would be excited to see more come from it that helps with the skills for sure. Oh man. So yeah, the whole event thing, that's fantastic. Now Planet Killer, what the heck is Planet Killer? I don't know that I want to look this up. Okay, no. It's just it's just a post. Alright, so close these. I don't know. That'll be interesting to see what that is. Maybe it's like a giant space station you have to deal with. Like another endgame threat. That'd be kind of fun. But there's another hostile activity related mission, so I guess there will be more than just the pirates and the Pathers and the hyperspace topography. That's cool. Adjusting the composition of fleets. Yeah, we knew about that. We saw that down when we went over weapons and ships earlier. Music, industries, UI. This sounds more like a bug fix. Added mission tags to analyze entry and survey planet missions. Whatever that means. Oh, those show up in exploration, not missions, I think. Okay. Ship recovery dialogue now shows normal and story point recovery in the same screen. I don't know how I feel about that. But I guess it'll make that box more convenient in general. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Not like it's a big deal. Ship repairs completed message will now stack when many repairs finish at the same time. This I'm very happy for, because many repairs do tend to be finished at the same time. So you almost always have this big stack of alerts. So it'll be nice to see those get stuck together. Custom production being increased to 100 units regardless of the ship/weapon size. seemed arbitrary to limit the order anyway. So I'm interested to see if this will apply to the using other people's production or using the illegal weapons dealer. If you can still have like, it'll be nice to be able to order 100 of just about anything. Assuming that I don't hit the cap. Made some adjustments to bonus XP for battle difficulty mission calculations that reins in the bonus for having just a single combat ship. This I'm unhappy about. All right, one of the coolest things about flying around in a single ship and dominating the sector is that you can get a lot of bonuses in XP because it thinks that every fight is more difficult, but every fight is not more difficult, so I guess I understand. It's like if you're running around in a cruiser beating up groups of frigates, then yeah, okay, I guess I probably shouldn't be getting piles of experience points for beating up relatively easy targets like that. But still, it's still a bummer. I don't know how badly did that need to be a thing. I guess I don't know. Way stations now pull in a small quantity of volatiles and transplutonics. Like, I'm guessing that's just for you to get a hold of? Like, I don't get what that is about. Because way stations don't really do... So, like, where's it getting it from, like asteroids and stuff? Is it going to count as a unit of transplutonics? Or is it just that you have some transplutonic ore if your planet doesn't have the ore normally? Because to me it sounds like this could make a lot more colonies viable if, like, as single colonies, if that way station can now just, like, help you with your volatile. I don't know, I guess we'll have to wait and see exactly how much it affects the colony. That's an interesting bonus. It's interesting to see. Well, I guess that would also... I guess it's got to be like a unit, maybe? It's a small quantity. That'll be interesting to see. Officers for higher promotions and for promotions don't share, or generally will not... Officers for higher/from promotion will generally not share portraits with the player's existing officers. It's not guaranteed, but it's not a bug if they do share. That I'm excited for, I mentioned earlier. Cheap commodity mission. Remote pickup of legal goods variation now requires other colony to not be hostile to the player, which is good. I didn't realize that was a problem necessarily, because most of the time I'm fine with just sneaking into places anyway. But yeah, if you're hostile with another colony, you might not even be able to go pick up those goods. So I'm glad that they're going to, like, make it so that the missions won't force you to go places you technically can't even go. Or technically aren't supposed to go, or are not welcome. Anyway, bonus experience quadruples XP gains at max level instead of doubling them. This I am so excited for. Oh my lordy, will this make getting story points so much easier in the late game. Because it is a chore acquiring story points after you get level 15. I think this is probably going to be one of the better changes in this entire patch. Just because, like, there's so many times where I want to restart just because of the way I spent my story points so that I could end up with more story points at the end. Like, when you get to level 15 and you have 0 story points, and you want to do something that requires, like, 8 story points. Ugh. The Letic Path no longer requires a military base to launch a punitive expedition. I don't even know what that means. Like, does that mean they can do, like, the raiding? Not raiding, but, like, task forces? Like the other factions can? I guess that's what that means. Added credit rewards to certain story missions. Okay, which ones? Because I wasn't aware that there were story missions that didn't have credit rewards. I wasn't aware that was a thing at all. Hmm. Interesting. And accidents from Zero CR that result in a ship loss no longer cause loss of interesting/special cargo if overcapacity. I like that. I think it's insane, the idea that you could lose some special cargo. Like, you would think that it would be more secure. Like, if you're going into combat, it would be on a ship that doesn't go into combat. Something like that. Or, like, if you have a ship that has low combat readiness, you would think that you would move that special cargo off of it. So I'm glad that that's a thing. I didn't even know it was a thing, so glad that's changed. Adding a new honorific selector to the new game screen, so you can be Sir, Ma'am, or Captain. I'm really happy with this. As somebody who plays a variety of characters with a variety of the portraits, this is a big one. Especially because, like, some of the male and female portraits, you can't tell because they have a helmet on. Or they're androgynous enough that it could go either way. And I like the idea, especially that, like, with gender flexibility, should be flexible in general. I'm glad that we've broken out of that binary, because there's a lot of times where it's like, there's a gender neutral character in the game, so the idea that my character can't be gender neutral is kind of funny. I think this is something that needed to have been changed a while ago, so I'm glad to see that it's getting changed now and getting implemented. But yeah, this will be nice, especially because, like, there's a lot of times where my character is, like, that I'm playing. Sure, they're very obviously a sir or ma'am, and they may not have a problem being a sir or ma'am, but captain. No, you don't sir me, you don't ma'am me, I am captain. I like that. I think that's fun. AI cores in domain derelict fleets now use ballistic mastery instead of energy mastery. That's why I made my space wolf before I even did the tutorial. Those portraits killed me. Yeah, yeah. I'm glad that there's, like, that now you can just use any of the space helmets, and you don't have to be a sir or a ma'am. You can just be a captain. I think that's kind of cool. It'll be interesting to see if the entire game changes to address the fact that you didn't gender yourself. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. I know the first thing I'm going to do is select captain and see if it changes that stuff. Anyway, AI cores in domain derelict fleets now use ballistic mastery instead of energy mastery. I only just realized that I could see the enemy fleet's AIs, or the enemy fleet officers, what skills they have. So it's funny to me that wasn't a thing already. What about the missile guys? Do the missile guys now use ballistics even though they don't have any ballistics? Anyway, Salamander MRM will not be mounted on derelict drones during tutorial, which I could see that being an issue, so that's probably a good thing. Like, that could be really annoying for newer players to just be getting decked by salamanders over and over and over and not being able to fly around. That could be really annoying. Contact bounty intel items are now tagged with the target's faction in addition to the normal tags. Okay, so now you get to see who you're going after, what faction they're a part of, and not just what faction is giving you the bounty. I like that. That's cool. Glacia Academy story missions made minor additions to various obscure dialogue options. Whatever that means. Added new player selectable portraits. Hype. All the hype. Added new illustrations to various planets and situations. Also hype. Significantly reduced impact of demods on NPC versus NPC fights on the danger to player estimate. Not sure how that was a thing. Significantly reduced impact of demods on NPC versus NPC fights. And on the danger to the player estimate. So I think the idea here is that demods were making fleets appear less dangerous than they were, and making NPC fights less balanced, which I guess would explain why when you see like a huge pirate fleet getting curb stomped, that's probably why that was happening. Or when you see like a derelict redacted fleet floating out in hyperspace, and by derelict I mean like the shiny boys, but they're all demodded up. How that fight makes it seem like that fight's going to be easier than it really is. It's still a very hard fight because those guys have lots of AI cores in them. I got my cleeps chapped. My cheeks clapped the other day by that fleet because I was like, oh, it's just, it shouldn't be too hard. I know I can take these guys. I know how to behave. But no, then it turns out 5 autocannons pointing forward is pretty freaking strong. So, yeah, I got wrecked. Okay, so this is the combat section, which is different than the AI section. The AI section is further down. This is just some other combat stuff. So we have added option to disable screen whiteout for large ship explosions. Yeah, I'm surprised that's not a thing already. Whiteout no longer obscures the command UI, still obscures ship combat UI. This is good. I'm very happy about that. I like the whiteouts myself. I think it adds a lot of dynamic flair, but I know it's something that can be really annoying to other people. And it's something that I've been tempted to disable for my stream just because it is kind of blinding, and I'm also worried about like visually sensitive people potentially having an issue with it. And that's a good point. If you often pause there to do stuff, that could be really annoying. Improved ship explosion visual effects, that'll be fun to see. Termination sequence, missile change to not deal friendly fire damage when it explodes. I don't know why you called it a missile there, it's a drone. But anyway, I'm happy about this because, I had a Terminator fleet that I built, and I was getting smacked. Like, they were popping me here and there with that little Terminators, and it was getting frustrating. When the ship is overloaded or venting, the raise shield / phase cloak command will be buffered if it was issued within 0.2 seconds of overload / vent ending. This is actually kind of very important, and I'm glad it's getting added, because there's a lot of times when I'm waiting for that overloading or venting to end, and I end up spam clicking because I'm wanting to phase or raise shields immediately. And then what happens, at least not with the shields, but with the phase cloak, is I'll phase out and then phase back in because I pushed the buttons too fast. Now being able to buffer it, if anything, the buffer might actually need to be larger than 0.2 seconds, but hopefully that's good enough. Or give some kind of indicator. Maybe there is an indicator, I'm just not looking for it. But, there should probably be a little bit more of a buffer. Disable weapons will be shown in red on the selected weapons group list, not in list of all weapon groups, which is good. There's a lot of times where I have my weapons selected and I'm like, why are they not firing? And I have to look at my ship to see that they're broken. So it's good to see that there's going to be an indicator right in your UI to let you know that the weapon is broken. Or damaged, I should say. Reserve deployment for ships with only one fighter bay now at least doubles the wing size, minimum of +2 craft. Fighter replacement rate reduction is 15% instead of 25%. I didn't know that there was ships with reserve deployment that only had one fighter bay. But maybe that is that you only are using one fighter bay? I don't know. This could be interesting to experiment with. Wonder how that works with the Reaper one. So if you get like 3 Cobra wings for the price of 1 by using reserve deployment. What has reserve deployment? Gemini and the Drover. Okay. Okay, so yeah, the Gemini has one fighter wing. Yeah, okay. So then if you put a Cobra into the Gemini, does that mean you get 3? That'll be interesting to play with. Added message explaining what's going on and what to do when there's no flagship deployed and the player starts in the command shuttle. Also improves visibility/clarity of the nothing is deployed message, and added a similar prompt to transfer command when the flagship is destroyed. Hopefully that will help new players. I don't know how that's gonna what that's gonna do for me necessarily, or but this sounds like it'll help new players. Command points are no longer refunded when the last order given during a pause is canceled. Fundamental problem in that the same sequence of orders and a cancel could be a legitimate order or a never mind. I'm not sure what that means. So does this mean that like you were able to give away free orders? And which are no longer refunded when the last order given during a pause is canceled. I'm not sure exactly what that's about. Alright, anyway, an improved visual effect of Reaper torpedo explosions, which that'll be cool to see. I mean, I'm happy when any of the visual effects get improved. I already think they're really good, so it'll be fun to see how like some of these changes are implemented. Like one of the changes that's in here is that the ships are going to get a slight where is it? Down here. Yeah, updated the sprites, and various other ships get their sprites adjusted/improved. I like little graphics tweaks. It'll be fun. Miscellaneous. Autofit will no longer puts flux distributor/coil adjunct on ships that could spend the ordnance points on more vents/caps instead, even if the hull mod is in the target variant. Not sure. I think that has more to do with if you have like flux regulation and you're using the default auto fitting. Like, there's no reason to put the flux distributor if you could just put more vents in. So I think that's what that's for. Added warning when the resulting variant has too few weapons or fighters to be effective. That I think is going to be good for newer players who don't realize that they haven't really outfitted their ships properly or at all. Like maybe they don't realize they left a ship unequipped. I guess we'll have to see where that warning shows up. If that shows up in the fleet menu or if it only shows up in the refit menu. But either way, it sounds like a nice bonus. Added use software mouse cursor option in the data/config/settings. That's kind of cool. So that means you can use a regular cursor or the software cursor. I mean, I don't know what that's going to change necessarily. It sounds like you get some cursor customization there. Ordering an individual ship to retreat no longer requires a command point or opens the command frequency if that ship is out of peak time. I didn't realize ordering a ship to retreat ever costed command points. Anyway, fixed screen scaling issues with top secret minigame. Well, I guess that's top secret, so I don't know what to say about that. Linux startup script added shebang. I'm sure that's important. Increased max perm gen size to 128. I don't know what that means. Oh, that's silly. The idea that retreating opens the command channel. I just never noticed, I guess, because I don't use a lot of my command points. Usually, I tend to build my fleets and engage my encounters in a way where I don't necessarily need to control anyone. So like if there's a fight, mostly because I don't count on that command prompt really working. I don't count on the fleet actually listening to me when I do those kind of orders, because I've had generally bad experience with that. Because I tend to only try to micromanage them in fights where we are at a disadvantage. And it turns out, as we'll get into when we get further down, that's because the AI doesn't behave properly, which is getting fixed. Added explicit hull size designation to ship tooltips. Explicit hull size designation to ship tooltips. I guess that's like, I mean, it says frigate. Oh, maybe it doesn't say that on all of them? Cruiser. Okay, yeah. So this guy doesn't say he's a cruiser. Yeah, so I guess there are ships. Yeah, of course there are ships that don't really explain what they are. You have to kind of guess. Alright, so that'll work. That's helpful. That's good. More background of refit screen, a bit darker and less busy looking. I mean, I never really noticed a problem with that, but maybe it is an issue. Added a generate ship name button to the right to the refit screen. If the current name does not match the faction ship prefix, it will update the name instead. That's cool. I like that. Now, does that mean that it will update just the prefix the first time you click it, or will it update both? Because, I wish the prefix was off by itself, so I could just update that by itself. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. We already talked about ships. I talked about fighters. Talked about weapons. Hull mods. All right. There's some exciting stuff in here. And many hull mods now have special effects when built into the hull using a story point, and a lot of those are not really talked about here. Just some of them. But yeah, this is exciting to see how that works. Cheaper hull mods have stronger bonuses, so this will make it more valuable to build cheaper hull mods in. Hull mods costing around 5, 10, 15, 25 ordnance points generally don't have an extra effect. Now, that's per ship size, so those are around the average. So like 5 on a frigate is the average cost of more of the more, not necessarily expensive ones. Because to me, the expensive ones are like systems override, heavy armor, missiles, extra missile racks. But this is talking about the ones like integrated targeting and hardened shields, stuff like that. Don't have an extra effect. Hull mods costing significantly more have relatively light penalties. Huh. That'll be interesting to see what that's about, because I build augmented drive fields in on a lot of my ships. If I get penalized in some way, that's going to be a bummer. As of writing this, there are 3 of those. They don't think they say what they are, though. Logistic hull mods have a significant bonus regardless of their costs, since it's still a sacrifice to combat power. That's cool. So even if so the augmented drive field will actually have a bonus, even though it's an expensive one. Okay, so logistics hull mods, that's nice. I like that. And bonus XP granted by building hull mods in is now 75, 50%, 25, and 0, based on the size. This is fine. Like I don't expect to get points back for building stuff into my capital ships. I wish it was more. I wish it was more like 80, 50, 30. Like, I don't mind the 50 on destroyers, but like, it would be cool if I could get more points back for spending things on my frigates. Because honestly, investing story points into your ships is dangerous. Because there's a chance you lose your ships. So I don't know. I kind of wish you got a little bit more bonus experience out of that. Or maybe when they got destroyed, or if you could scuttle them and recover it. I don't know. Something. Not recover the point, but recover some more experience. I don't know. Anyway, faulty automated systems now increases crew requirement by only 50%, was 100%. Whatever. It's not a big deal. I guess it'll. You know what? It probably. Now I'm thinking about it. Now that we have a ship that requires 4,000 crew, I guess this is probably something that should be addressed. So yeah. Tooltip grays out the ballistic rangefinder. Tooltip grays out the not current applicable bonus. Huh. It's a ballistic rangefinder. I mean, I know what the ballistic rangefinder is, but I mean, like, what's it look like right now? Well, it's not currently applicable on this one, so... So maybe it's a new thing that will let you know that it's not currently applicable, which is important because, like, unless you read that full tooltip, you don't realize that the point defense weapons don't get a bonus, hybrid weapons don't get a bonus. You might not realize your ballistic weapons are in hybrid mounts. There's a lot of reasons why that could be an issue, so if it makes it more clear when it will and won't be helpful, that's nice. New hull mod, Defensive Targeting Array, increases fighter damage versus missiles and other fighters by 50%, reduces fighter roam range to 0, and costs 2, 4, 6, 10 ordnance points. So it's pretty cheap. And I like this idea, because there's a lot of times where I want my fighters to literally always stay around the ship, and this will do that for a relatively cheap cost. So I think this is really cool to include. I'm excited for this. This will be fun for building different combinations of ships and like with fighters. Really exciting. It'll be exciting to see how that works out. Experiment with some builds like the Falcon, especially, which is so good to build in the fighter bay, and then add in some some fighters to help with this point defense. Now you can make sure they stick with it. That's kind of cool. Neural integrator and neural interface mod specs should no longer drop. Oh, no longer drop as loot. I was confused. I read this before and I thought that they would just like fall off. No, you can't get them as loot anymore. That makes sense. Alright. Rugged construction now also reduces supply cost to recover from deployment by 50%. Very cool. And multiplicative with similar bonuses from having demods on the hull. I'm happy with this. It makes, because a lot of times the ships with rugged construction to me are very underwhelming. Like I basically force myself to use them in playthroughs. Now it's going to make them like a little more viable. Like you could end up with a very low cost fleet to deploy and recover. That'd be interesting. New hull mod, Missile Auto Loader. Reloads small missile weapons only a limited number of times out of a shared pool. Weapons that cost more ordnance points generally require more points to reload. Reload capacity larger for ships that have very few small missile mounts relative to their size. Does not affect small missile weapons mounted in other types of slots. Each select synergy and composite or universal. I'm excited for this new hull mod here because it seems like there's not really a lot of missile mods, so getting a new one is exciting. One that increases it increases the ammo of small missiles, as opposed to having to build like the extra missile racks or the extra missile mod, which is kind of expensive, just to increase the amount of smaller missile pods. Like this will be kind of cool. This will be interesting to see how it works out. Plus, like it goes with the theme of like the ballistic integration, right? Not ballistic rangefinder. Mostly being for smaller, small ballistics. Like this is a nice little missile buff for small missiles, which a lot of ships have. So this will be a really cool hull mod to experiment with. Integrated point defense AI cost reduced to 3, 6, 9, 15 was 4, 8, 12, 50 or 20, gives ability to ignore decoy flares and 50% damage to missiles. Converting small weapons to point defense is now the S-mod effect bonus. I don't know how I feel about that last part. To me, this is honestly the only reason I equip this, like 99% of the time, is so that the small weapons affect or can now target like other, can now be used as point defense. Like that is generally what I build, like what I use integrated point defense for. It's not to get extra bonus or target leading. It's specifically so my other weapons can target and work as point defense. So the fact that that's now the S-mod effect basically makes integrated point defense worthless to me. If it costs even less, I still wouldn't use it because I only am interested in this last part. So that's a bummer to see that happen. This is probably the only thing in this entire patch note thing that I'm disappointed in. Like this is a nerf that didn't need to happen, and I'm kind of sad about it. I'll basically never be using integrated point defense anymore. It's kind of a bummer. High resolution sensors changed from 46915. It was 99915. I'm very glad this changed. There was really no reason to ever equip high resolution sensors on the smallest ships because it was just so expensive. So I'm glad this changed. Shield shunt and makeshift shield generator are now incompatible with each other. I did not realize it was a thing that you could do both. And the shield shunt can be built in and has an extra armor bonus effect when built in with a story point. Glad to hear that. But at the same time, I'm not a fan of using story points on my ships because I can lose my ships. But now that story points are easier to get at the end game, maybe that won't be such a big deal anymore. So, may have to mess around with that. Ballistic rangefinder rephrased some things in the tooltip for clarity. Very glad, because I had to read that thing several times to understand it. It is not an easy thing to get the hang of. Alright, ship AI, modding. Is there any other smaller categories? Because I kind of want to finish with the ship AI, because it's the one I'm most excited about. Don't see. Oh. Oh. Let me message someone real quick. Oops. My phone has limited to no connectivity. This is great. The bug fixes, I didn't realize most of these were even bugs. Sorry, I missed your comment on me. I read in the in-game hints that if a ship with an S-mod is destroyed, you get back enough XP to buy back those S-mods and another ship. If that's the case, then I've not noticed. But that might explain why I have some characters that have buckets of bonus XP that I'm not sure where it came from. Maybe there needs to be a tooltip for that or somewhere. I don't know what about that. I don't know about that. I haven't seen that necessarily, but it does sound like it might not be something that you notice. Anyway, bug fixes. Fix issue with hull restorations, modification of ship recovery probability. Does that mean that you'll always be able to recover, or what that's about? Because I know that hull restoration doesn't guarantee recovery. Fix issue with hull mods that can't be built in, sometimes showing up as S-mods on derelict ships. Yeah, I only recently realized that you should kind of check every time you see a derelict ship. Kind of should check those. Kind of should. Because sometimes you'll find some that come with free S-mods. And it's kind of nice. Oh, if you don't save the ship, you get the XP. That's good to know. Okay, so that makes them a little more, especially knowing now that at the end game, you get quadruple XP instead of double. That means that like it's like an investment now to build S-mods in on your early game ships, because when you get the XP back, you'll actually end up getting more back. I think that's how that might work out. I'll have to look into that. Experiment around a bit. Anyway, but yeah, you can find derelicts with S-mods built in, and it's kind of cool. And now that you can't get... Apparently you used to be able to find impossible ones, which is also interesting. Wonder if my safety overrides Griffin is out there somewhere. That's what we should build, the Let It Pass Griffin. Anyway. Removed point defense flag from proximity charge launcher will no longer auto-target missiles, which is fine. I mean, it doesn't have a lot of ammo, considering it has a lot of ammo. Like, I'm always surprised at how quick some of these weapons with a lot of ammo run out. I like the proximity charge launcher. I think it's really cool, and it's really good at destroying missiles. But the idea that it would auto-target every missile within range, that would be really annoying. So I'm glad that they changed that. Fixed issue where derelicts with S-mods would always have 3 S-mods instead of 1, 2, or 3. I didn't know they had 3. I don't think I found one with 3. Maybe I did. I'm just not remembering it. Added a radiated condition to Hanapaka. What's Hanapaka? I'm guessing it's a planet. Intel, planets, name. Let me scroll down faster than that. Hanapaka irradiated. Oh, it doesn't. It's irradiated, but doesn't have irradiated. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, alright. That's a bit of an oversight. One second. Just coordinating with someone about talking about the mod section. Where else were we? Fixed issue, fixed irradiated, fixed retrain option being available when you have no story points. I didn't know that was a thing either. Like, a lot of these I didn't know were things. Fixed issue that could cause the target feed ship systems to not be used by the AI when using certain fighters against larger ships. Again, like, I didn't know that these were issues. Like, a lot of these things are, seem like they'd be kind of obscure to even discover, so good on whoever discovered that the AI was not using the target feed system. Fixed engine placement on the Prometheus Mark II. I guess I haven't flown that enough to notice that was a problem. Fixed issue where viewing a custom production report while the ship is already in your fleet could briefly reset the combat readiness to 0. Alright. Fixed issue with certain randomly generated missions still targeting locations they shouldn't. That sounds like it could be a problem, even though I'm not sure how specifically it would be. Fixed issue where it was possible to fire while using certain ship systems like Fortress Shield by pausing the game, holding down the fire button, and unpausing. Well, kudos to whoever's been abusing that, because that sounds silly as could be. We're going to go ahead and leave I need these things. I always forget how to leave. Ah, there it is. Disconnect. And there we go. Boop. Boop. Okay. Have a voice call shortly. Where was I? So yeah, the idea that you could fire through the fortress shield simply by pausing the game. I don't know how this isn't a more popular thing to bring up. It seems a bit silly. Fixed issue where certain random missions could target the cryo sleeper and be uncompletable because it's impossible to salvage it. I haven't had that come up, but that definitely seems like it'd be frustrating. Fixed the issue with Sabot SRM single being available in the base blueprint package. I'm guessing that being not available where it needs to be available. By the way, Sabot SRM, don't know if you know, low-key one of the rarest weapons in the game. If not the rarest weapon in the game, aside from, very unique weaponry. But as far as, the standard weapons, one of the most rare weapons in the game. Ah, here we are.
About Sad Corpus, I wish.
Hello.
Hello.
So we're going over bug fixes at the moment, and we just talked about the fact that the Sabot SRM single is low-key one of the rarest weapons in the game. I have played a lot of files where I have never found one in the market.
Oh, why would you use that though?
It costs 1 ordnance point. So the only reason it's useful is because it costs 1 ordnance point. But otherwise, you would just want to use the 2 or use the larger rack. But the fact that it's so rare means even if you wanted to use it, good luck finding it. But that's basically it. But apparently now they fixed the issue where you can now find it's now available. I guess the wording here is weird. Fixed issue with Sabot SRM single being available in the base blueprint package. Does that mean that the issue was that it was in the package and shouldn't be, or that it was supposed to be in the package and it wasn't?
It wasn't in there at all.
Okay, so now at least you'll be able to find it, because I think I don't have that on my file here, which is supposedly full of blueprint. I'm supposed to have everything, and I'm like, oh wait, I don't actually have the single Sabot. No, I do. I wonder where I got it from then. Huh. But yeah, that thing, I'll often be like, oh, I only have 1 ordnance point. I guess I could throw a Sabot on here. But, yeah, can't find them.
Oh god.
So have you gone through the patch notes yet?
I have.
I'm excited.
Well, I was reading it in bed when I was waking up, so I was like, "Oh, announcement, let's go."
Yeah, I woke up shortly after the announcement, and immediately I'm reading it, and my friend Betharn, he messaged me 30 minutes later. He's like, "Did you see the notes?" I'm like, "Dude, I woke up to it. I'm so excited. My boy, my main boy, Mining Laser, is getting the biggest buff ever."
Reduced OP cost to 1, mount changed to hybrid.
Ah! It's going to be the ultimate filler weapon.
There's a lot of those for modding, at least, which I find interesting.
Oh, the mod section, that's the reason why I reached out to you, because, the mod section is the biggest section. There's so much in here. It's almost as big as, most, any other 2 sections combined.
Oh, yeah, it's because modders carry the community. Haha.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to deny it. There's a lot to be said for modders, where I'm actually already working with my main man, Omni-Wolf here. We're playing around with a few things. We're making a more combat viable Tarsus because we both love the Tarsus. We think it's adorable. However, it has no use whatsoever aside from the fact that if you're trying to run away from the enemy, it can burn a little bit faster. But
Sounds like a condor.
yeah, that's the kind of the idea. We ended up making like a budget condor, like throw a flight deck into it, give it a flight deck, give it a medium weapon mount, build in military subsystems and burn rating. And then we got to tweak. We probably got to tweak the ordnance point cost because it's probably. I mean, not the ordnance cost. The deployment cost a little bit. But it's it's just fun. We're just doing this for fun to experiment because he hasn't done any of the modding yet. This is like he's cutting his teeth on the Tarsus, and I haven't played with any mods yet, so I figured I can mess around with this stuff.
Interesting.
He's saying that it's able to take on an enforcer.
Wow.
So I'm excited. That definitely sounds like it might be a little stronger than I was expecting. But then if that's the case, you just raise the deployment cost. Like that's what they did with the LP Brawler in this patch. Is everyone's been saying LP Brawler 2 OP, LP Brawler 2 OP. Okay, fine. It costs more deployment points then. 2 OP means more DP.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm very happy with a lot of the balance changes. The new weapons, the new ships, the balance changes to the ships, the balance changes to the weapons. I think the only thing in here that I'm not happy about is what they did to the integrated point defense. The fact that you only get your small weapons getting to do point defense is now only a thing if you build in the mod, the integrated point defense as an S mod. That makes that basically worthless to me. Because the only time I ever used integrated point defense AI was so that my small weapons would target fighters and missiles. I didn't care about the other bonuses.
Oh, but what if you wanted to use railguns and not have them target missiles or fighters?
That is a good point. So I guess, okay. But the thing is that in that case, I just wouldn't be using integrated point defense. Like, when I use integrated point defense, it's because I want those weapons to target the fighters, and now I have to spend a story point in order to get that. That's like a minor inconvenience considering how glorious all these other new additions to the game are going to be. Like, I was diving into the old dev blogs about the event mechanic, the major event mechanic, and like the entire time I was thinking, oh man, modders are going to have a field day with this, because like essentially, like you can use this as like a whole new thing for quest chains, or like like it's a whole new kind of quest thing for other factions. Like I'm thinking about like faction interactions and stuff like that. That like the whole Nexerlin factions interacting can use this now as like a way to like not just increase the like it can manage the whole like stages of a war with another faction. It can manage just a bunch of different things, and then the fact that hyperspace topography is a major event that gives you buffs.
Yeah.
Like now you could have other major events that could potentially give you buffs as well. And I'm looking at it, and the dev blog from which one was that? Like October or something, specifically mentioned that they were thinking of like in Skyrim and Oblivion and Elder Scrolls, how your skills progress over time through a bar. And I'm just thinking, holy crap! Like hyperspace topography is kind of tied to navigation and sensors, but you could easily have other events tied to other skills to give you other bonuses. Like the first thing that came to mind is like there could be a trade event where like if you're delivering not like high value stuff, because you already get bonus XP for making good trades, but what if I deliver like 10,000 ore? And that increases my progress to being like the ore baron, and it gives me like bonuses or something along those lines. Like there's a lot to be said. This major event thing, I think, is going to be a very cool addition to the game, especially for mods, because like I mean now there's a whole extra like angle to the game that can be tooled around with for storytelling and for just for more game mechanics to mess with. And I didn't even touch on the fact that ship AI is getting updated. I have literally, there have been points where I have been sitting in this chair for like 15 to 20 minutes ranting nonstop because my fleet got destroyed and it was a fight that I shouldn't lose. So the big one for me is, where was it? Where it was, more willing, improved danger detection. No, well, now they're going to treat mines better, which is very nice too. Because I'm watching these idiots just walk into minefields like they're a field of daisies. I'm so glad that's going to change.
Oh yeah.
More willingness to close in against about to explode enemies when the shields are up and facing the right way. Like, yeah, seeing the way that they become timid when a ship's about to explode. It's like, what the hell? Come on. But this is the one. Fixed issue that could cause ships to refuse to engage when given an eliminate order, and some specific number/size of ships on each side.
I've had that problem before.
Yes, this also applies more broadly to the reckless personality, making it more aggressive, and the full assault as well. Because my problem literally was, I would be in a fight that I knew was a fight that I had to be careful to win. However, I knew that my capital ship and my skill flying it would be the main difference in that fight, that my one frigate or destroyer would be able to not only tip the scales in our favor, but significantly do that, or when I'm flying a capital ship even. But because the AI sees that we're in a bad fight, we're outnumbered, we're outgunned, their morale, and I've always referred to this as the secret morale stat, the way they behave, they don't engage. They don't do what they need to do in order to support my ship. And there was one fight, I gotta clip this at some point to share and spread around. There was one fight where I literally had like half a dozen frigates hiding behind my conquests in the corner, like I was the mother hen, and they were my little chicks hiding in the corner, even though they were set to escort and defend me. They were hiding behind me, and like even turning it on full assault didn't change that. And I needed them to fight. I needed them to get out from behind me and use their point defense to protect me. Like, it was so frustrating. I must have spent like a full 20 minutes just ranting about the AI. So like I've been like low-key feeling like I'm gaslighting myself, that the AI is my problem, that I'm playing the game wrong, that I'm not as good as I think I am, you know, and then suddenly these patch notes come out and I feel so vindicated. So yeah, I'm excited even just for, if it was just the AI improvements alone, or just the event improvements alone, like the new event system, like any of these.
About new content.
Oh yeah, and there's like, I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 11, 12, 13 new ships. You know, 2 of them are drone ships, so 11 technically. Then you've got, like, a bunch of them are variants, so there's really only 4 new ships. 3, actually, because one of them is a variant of the other one. The Pegasus battleship, the Invictus Dreadnought, the Retribution battleship. Have you seen these?
Oh yeah, I've seen all of them.
Because I was going to say, you're probably more familiar with the dev posts and whatnot.
Oh, I've read all these before.
Yeah, because I didn't even realize that these were already teased.
No, I've seen all the new ships. They're very cool.
Yeah, I'm excited because they're very different than everything we already have. That's the main thing for me. And they're all capital ships, so it's like we have more variety in the capital ships, which, you know, if there was a section where I was...
If you just need more capital ships, install my mod.
Well, one of the mods that I was thinking of trying first was the one that literally just adds new ships and weapons. Like, apparently there's one that's just like a pack of just ships and weapons, but I'm not even, like, I haven't even really bothered to go looking.
Ship and weapon pack?
Yeah, that's the one.
That is a very classic mod. Please get that.
Yeah, so that would probably be the first mod that I would try out that's an actual, like, adding ships and weapons, as opposed to, like, there's a couple quality of life ones that I'm going to look into as well. Yeah, combat chatter is one that I was thinking of looking into.
Yeah, I definitely have that.
Yeah, Omni says he loves the combat chatter because he just loves when they're hearing how it changes when he releases. Because he has been getting into deploying in waves, and I play with the fleet count down to from 400 deployment points to 200. So I've been deploying in waves too because it's like it really changes the game. It's very strange. And he says that, like, when he deploys his LP brawlers, he loves how the fleet chatter goes from, like, the standard fleet chatter to suddenly everyone's screaming. I love those little bastards.
Combat alarms. Ooh.
One of the ones I was really interested in trying is there was this one that I saw someone post on Reddit called, I think it was Realistic Combat, where it changes the scale of a lot of the ships, changes the speed of a lot of the weapons, increases the range of a lot of weapons. So it's like it just really changes the ratios around, it looks like. But like when I was watching it, I'm like, man, this looks a lot more interesting. No, you don't think so?
Which mod is this?
I think I want to say it's called Realistic Combat.
Oh no, yeah, no, don't install that ever. It's
No?
garbage. No, it's garbage. Any overhaul mod is just you don't want to do that.
I guess someone because that's the thing is like it looked interesting, but I'm always nervous about any kind of mods for that exact reason is like, especially when they're larger mods like that. I don't know. So like one of the games that I mod regularly is Doom. What?
Oh, okay.
No, Doom. The original Doom. Because there's some really, really good mods for that do overhauls on it. So it gets me more optimistic about overhaul mods than I probably should be. And there's also like Pokemon Momon is one of my favorites as well, and that's a pretty big overhaul mod, but it's also really well done. So it's like there's a few mods that I'm really, really into, but they're also the ones that are really well done and really polished, as opposed to, I guess, this one, which is not so much. Yeah, so I've just been talking about all of that stuff. There's a lot of cool stuff. Very excited. Very excited. But what in the modding section has you excited?
Let's take a look at it. Scroll down slowly.
Oh, you look at me. Okay.
Yes.
Here, I can post the link again in my chat. So, like, the top line, fix issue with certain buff manager buffs only apply in combat erratically. Well, I'm not sure how that... I mean, it definitely sounds like it's an issue that needs to be fixed if stuff doesn't get applied. A lot of this seems like it's really technical.
Oh yeah, it's all Java stuff.
Added to settings API, weapon slot API, create weapon slot. So does that mean you can now, like, add new weapon slots to things? Because I was talking with Omni, and he was talking about how it's actually really difficult to, like, you kind of, like, you can't change the way the weapon slots work, necessarily. Like, if you have a ballistics weapon turret, you can't make it like a 360 turret. It's got to set, like...
oh, this seems interesting. Yeah, I think this definitely has to do like with adding like a weapon slot, maybe in combat or something like that.
Yeah, a lot of this is just... I just saw the modding, and I saw that it was like a lot of it was like specific names, variable names, and I was like, oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah, because my experience with programming is I took a very introductory class in college that we just talked about pseudocode.
Oh,
And that's
I did
it.
that 3 months ago. Yikes.
Yeah, so that's that. So then you know exactly how like worthless that class was. Like basically, I have the surface level understanding of programming to know how complicated programming is and how little I know, and that's it. Like every time I look into learning a programming language, I get to the I do well at the very start, and then I get to the chapter that starts talking about memory allocation, and my brain just shuts off. And I don't get any further than that. When what I probably should be doing is just looking at YouTube videos and actually just doing it as opposed to reading a textbook. Because I like more and more where I like, are you at all familiar with the Mario Odyssey streamer scene at all? And like what they're doing with
I only
mods?
watched Vinny Vine Sauce.
Okay, so there's this guy, Crafty Boss, who literally taught himself to mod, and after a few months of learning on his own, he hacked Mario Odyssey to create a multiplayer version.
What a genius.
Yeah, but it's like he didn't learn by reading some textbook. Like he's absolutely very skilled in this area. You know, that's not an easy thing to do. But it's like. And then I've got another guy I watch who does Pokemon streams, Scott Thoughts, and his stuff is fantastic. He's using GameHook to pull from the RAM of the emulator he uses so that he can get access to information to display in his UI, both live while streaming and also whenever he does recordings. And he's able to pull a lot of information out of the game using this. And a lot of that is stuff that he worked directly with the creator of GameHook to make, but he's also programmed and learning programming himself. And it's like, all I can think of is like, all these creators that I'm watching that are getting into programming, they're not picking up a textbook. No, they're watching tutorials. They're, doing it themselves.
That's what I do every day. That's what I do every night. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I imagine it as much because it's probably a lot easier. Like I was talking with Omni, and it's like I learn better talking about these kinds of things and actually doing them, as opposed because like the portrait is a great example. I didn't realize how easy it was to add portraits to the game because I just never wanted to bother. But then after talking with him about it, it's like, oh yeah, this is stupid easy. Like anyone could add a portrait if they really wanted to.
If you know how to use Windows Explorer, then yeah.
That is a good point. Not everyone knows how to do that. Like I'm often shocked at but then again, it's like I grew up with computers before phones. So like when I was a teenager, I didn't have a smartphone because they weren't really a thing yet. So like I'm very comfortable with the desktop and Explorer and breaking open notepads to mess with stuff. But like people who grew up with their phone as their computer, like I'm sure computers and desktops are probably intimidating.
I think Zoomers don't know how to use PCs.
That is becoming more and more of a thing. They also apparently don't like using phones. Like the actual phone calls feature. Like apparently a lot of new hires in corporations, that's like the number one complaint, that they don't answer the phone. Well, these things happen. Oh well. Oh, okay, this is kind of cool. I'm just blowing through these and trying to find stuff that I understand. Added use less verse shields weapon hint for weapons with charges. Autofire will now use not use more than 20% of the charges against shields. I saw that this had been changed in for some of the weapon notes up in the weapon section. That like it won't just dump like your thumpers. It won't just dump the thumper into a shield, which is completely worthless. Because most shields can just shrug an entire all 4 clips of a thumper.
I mean, thumpers are okay anti-shield sometimes, but I don't want my high explosive weapons to shoot against shields.
That too, yeah. Especially with the new fragment laser. I think the fragment laser is the reason why this was changed. Because they have that new, the auto lance, which is, I'm hyped for that. That sounds very cool. But that would be, pointless to dump into the shield. But yeah, you got a point though. Thumpers do a lot of, they have a large clip. They do a lot of actual damage. It's only because they do fragmentation that these things don't shred everything in the universe. But yeah, I wonder if Thumpers got that bonus or that flag. If they'll hold back some of it. I'll have to experiment and see. Otherwise, will not fire against shields at all. Okay. So if you put this flag on a weapon that doesn't have charges, it will not at all fire against a shield. No effect on the AI if it's manually selecting the weapon to fire. Okay. And does not apply when the target is a fighter. That makes sense. So this will affect players then too. So if you have it on auto fire, it shouldn't auto fire your weapons that are flagged like this. It shouldn't auto fire them on shields. I'm really curious to see what weapons this is added to already.
Possibly some of the niche weapons. I don't know.
I was honestly thinking that there needs to be, how there's the in the weapons loadout page, there's that you can tab something to auto fire, you can tab it to link. I was actually thinking about this the other day. There should be more options in that menu. The use less versus shields option should be something you can select for any weapon, even if it would be dumb. Just because I want more control of the way the auto fire works. Did you know that did you know that auto fire doesn't use if you have it set to fire alternating, auto fire will ignore that?
No way.
Yeah, so if you put alternating chain guns on your LP brawler, set it to auto fire, and switch off of them, it just spam fires them. It doesn't fire them alternating. Yeah. Which is really annoying for the Medusa, because I love putting alternating pulse lasers on the Medusa and linking them up with smaller pulse lasers. So you do 2 small pulse lasers and 2 medium pulse lasers, group them together, and you alternate them. In fact, here, do I have one on me? I think I have a Medusa. I can show you, because it's not only is it, oh wait, where the hell am I? I forgot what planet I was on.
Oh, you got your own VOD. Perfect. Oh wait, this is live gameplay, never mind.
Yeah. Oh, sorry about the toaster. I have a few fleets flying around. My RAM cannot handle my home system anymore.
This is why I upgrade to 64 gigabytes and never looked back.
Okay, so when I bought my laptop, I got 8 gigabytes because this was back with Windows 7. And I was like, you know what, I want to make sure I have enough RAM for a long time. And it was. That was 10 years ago. But now, I am struggling. So, with alternating fire... Oh, look at that flux. It's not going anywhere. I'll put the shield up. It barely uses any flux. So good. Harasses shields all day long because the pulse lasers mixing in with the larger ones and the smaller ones mixing in on the firing rate makes the flux management a lot smoother for the ship overall. So it's actually really good on the DPS and really good in general. But I'm gonna get target. Oops, wrong button. I'm gonna get that. Give me that buffalo. If I put on the auto fire, well, first of all, he's getting ready to blast me with whatever he's got going on. It just fires them all. Which is not a problem with this setup, because this setup is, I just tore apart a ship and threw all these things on it. But a lot of times, I'll be running with no vents, like a psychopath, or just in general, like with the way it's built, firing like that with the shield up will just use too much flux. And the whole point of the alternating fire is so that it will manage the flux better. But then putting it on auto fire completely ruins that.
I just play ships where I don't have to care about flux at all, and I use the flux heaviest weapons and just like demolish them.
Yeah, that is a thing. It is another thing that I'm doing. But like, my main thing is that I start a lot of files. I do new playthroughs constantly where I'm approaching things from different ways, using different kinds of ships, forcing myself to build different. And so a lot of times I'll end up in ships that I never really use, using weapons that I'm not familiar with. And that's how I discovered that you can use the alternating fire and mix different weapons together to get interesting different stuff, or different effects. And it also helps with flux management, and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And then I discovered that it's completely worthless if you set it to auto fire. And if you put an AI officer in it, it's basically worthless as well, because they will turn weapons that are on auto fire, they'll turn them off auto fire, and if they're off auto fire, they'll turn them on auto fire. So if you don't want the AI to use that weapon on auto fire, screw you, they're going to do it anyway. It's their ship, not yours. Because I was noticing that exactly with that Medusa. I gave it to an AI officer, and they were using it wrong. Oh. But that's just because, they're not mad like some people. But yeah, this tag seems like it'd be pretty useful. I'm excited for that. It'd be nice to get player access to that tag. Oh, hey, thank you for the follow, Grey Wind. Yeah, I'm excited for the patch notes. We've been going for 6 hours now just talking about patch notes. So should I call you just Chase, or is it Night Chase altogether?
No, you just call me KC, the gamer.
KC, the gamer. I should have asked that before we went live, but yeah, KC is joining us. They are much more familiar with mods than I am, so I was asking for their input on this hefty part of the patch notes. Because, oh boy.
Yeah, I see a lot of stuff that would be pretty useful for me.
So what is it that you like modding the most? What is it about the game that really gets you excited to mod?
Gets me excited to mod. When I have an idea in my head and I want to implement it, I just do it.
I mean, that definitely is fun. I can understand that. Like, that's one for me when it comes to games in general. I like finding games where I can do that. But I usually like finding games where I can do that working in the vanilla. Whereas, that's one of the reasons I like Starsector, is because there's so much to do in the vanilla game when it comes to my nonsense. But yeah, I could totally see that. Geez, there's so much stuff here. No auto-fit it, Let's Player. Tag.
I believe I get to be on a podcast. Thank you, Grayland.
That's basically what this is, yeah. It's like a 6-hour podcast talking about patch notes. I should put it up on Google Podcasts. No auto-fit unless player tag to hulls and variants. Huh. What does that even mean?
Oh, no.
No auto-fit unless player. Well, I mean, that's obviously an if statement, right? Like, no auto-fit, so, like, don't do it unless the player something. To hulls and variants. Not sure what that is. Combat UI PIR. Weapon arcs on. Added playful fire sound 1 to beam weapons will make sure intro sound does not fade out and finish playing, even if the beam stops firing. Okay. Like a lot of these things that I'm reading them, like I was having the same thing down with the bug notes where I was reading them and I'm like, oh, I didn't even know that was a thing. But I guess it's a thing. Added to weapon specs API, void set beam speed, set max ammo, set ammo per second. Okay, yeah. Because before they made the auto lance, there weren't beam weapons. I mean, there was the blasters, but they weren't really like, they didn't behave like beams. They just went pop, and that was it. They're more like bug zappers. So this is because of the lance now having, it just dumps out its ammo, but it's one steady beam. So now you have tools to make a steady beam that has an ammo clip. That's kind of cool. I'm really excited for that kind of weapon. It'll be fun to see how more of that might be implemented.
Beam speed. Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, I guess that is a thing, isn't it? Yeah. Don't really notice, like...
I like that the code actually looks tolerable to me, because I've been studying it. It's pretty nice.
I guess, yeah, it does kind of, like... It does take a second to get out there. Okay. I mean, I probably would notice it more if I was in like a phase ship and someone was blasting it at me. But yeah, it does take a second for beams to travel, so that's kind of interesting. So you could have like a slow beam. But yeah, use tactical laser in comparison. Good idea. Oh, yeah, you're right, because they're a lot much longer range. And they're much slower, aren't they?
Wow. I personally don't like using beams.
Oh, they're kind of trash if you don't, like, go all in. Yeah, if you don't go all in on the beams, like, with, like, the high intensity and all that other stuff, they can be kind of trash. Do I have Paragon? I don't think I do. I was gonna say, we could definitely notice it on the Paragon. Okay, let's just try this big green boy. He might be able to help us out.
I just can't understand mass use beams. They're good, but I would have to like do my own fucking.
Oh, that's so slow. The speed of light, everyone.
Wow.
But on the other hand, you have something like where's he at? Do I have one? I don't think I have one.
I'm pretty sure some of my projectiles shoot faster than that.
Oh, absolutely. Oops.
Ooh, triple phase lance, a specialty. IPDAI tac lasers are propaganda and they extend way too slow. I would agree.
Yeah, they're definitely a lot not as. I'm telling you, like that just looks so goofy thinking about it. Like thinking about like, okay, these are made of light. These are made of light. These are made of light. Oh my god. Goes nowhere. Does nothing. Someone. Give me a condor. That'll be fun. Hello.
Wow. Busted. You got hit by the piranhas, though.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
It looked so good until piranhas. But fighters are this thing's worst enemy. Fighters and bombers. Like, because it doesn't have any room for point defense. It does have a universal turret, but, like, what am I going to put there? Swarmers?
I would put Vulcans.
Ooh. Oh, I can't
you
fit
have 50
two, though.
overrides on it. It already has low
The speed.
TPP. You
That's
can just
the speed.
swap in unstable injector.
I can, but safety overrides go burr. Honestly, with the I don't know if you noticed, the Harbinger did get a buff, and with that buff, I'm probably not going to need either, because they're moving the speed up to 100 from 80. So with that buff, I won't really need either. I'll be fine with just having that base speed, and I'll get to put more points in other things like point defense. But
I rarely use spaceships except to pursue, I guess. So it's like,
yeah, this is becoming my like go-to flagship now, just because of how much I enjoy that specific build, like the just cutting through ships with the high scatter amplifier, especially when you also have target analysis, Wolfpack tactics, and high energy mastery to buff it. Like with those three, like target analysis was already giving me plus 10 against that Condor, but then with Wolfpack tactics, you get another plus. Against that one, it wouldn't have been a bonus, but against capital ships and cruisers, you get a plus 10. Then with the crew training, getting max combat readiness, you get another plus 10. Energy weapon mastery, I typically get around plus 10 from that, depending on how my flux is. Like, you start stacking these damage multipliers, like, that thing literally just chops through so many chips. We're not in my voice channel, we're on a private call right now. Yeah, Casey's not in my Discord.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. We get by. I can send you a link. Where is my link? I can't just right click and copy the link in OBS. Filthy. Where's this? I only just opened up this Discord, so you're like one of the first 10 people if you join. How exclusive.
Oh.
I know, right? So sweet.
An inner circle?
Yeah.
God. This is like one of my first inner circles.
Oh, I guess you're number 12.
Maybe
But
I don't want to join anymore.
I don't know. I can understand. But you do get exclusive access to my bulletin board, which doesn't work. For whatever reason, I don't know what option I changed, but my bulletin board is only viewable by me. Like, I went back in, and I'm like, okay, I can see what I messed with to make this happen, because I was trying to make it like, okay, so text channel permissions, send, create, embed, attach. Like, I changed a lot of stuff so that only I could use it. I need to just change it all back or something. Read message history. Okay, here we go. That's probably the one that's been messing it up. Alright, maybe that's the one. Who knows? Omni, check the bulletin board. Can you see the bulletin board? But we were doing group exploration of seats, which, I mean, I guess that's not something you'd be interested in because it's vanilla. but like where we all run on the same seed and we start keeping track of stuff. So like everywhere, like I even have a Google Doc, which this would move. Boom, 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 boom. Where it's like all the stuff that I found, what constellations have been explored, where the thing was, if there's any danger. So like, yeah, there's a Revenant phase trader in Beta Nisa 3A. Hang around, Beta Nisa 3A, the planet. In Beta Nisa, danger, neutron star, because Beta Nisa is a neutron star. So it's like, hey, there's a Revenant phase trader there. Careful. You might get blasted. The infinite Kamehameha is swirling around that system. Be careful. Or like, I searched these areas. There's nothing really of value in them. Yeah, I got a mining station. This one mining station gave up a synchrotron core and 2 biofactory embryos.
Holy cannoli.
Yeah. Which I immediately gave I gave one to the Ludic Path in Chalcedon, the Kamari Kondom, and they have completely failed to maintain it because every other day they get raided by the commie pirates, and so very rarely do I get to take advantage of their surplus supplies. And I gave the other one to one of the independent colonies, because these are my third. There's 3 biofactory embryos that I found already in this seed. Yeah, the other one was up here at a survey ship, which also had a synchrotron core and an alpha core. So I gave that first one to Hybrosol. Oh, cool! It did fix. Thank you, Omni. So I give the first one. I give the first biofactory embryo to. I've been calling it Ocean Brie. It's like Eosh. Pretty sure it's Oshu Brie, because all the like Tritachyon places are very French. Like Coulon is very French. Port Saint Francis. These are very French names. So it can't be Echo Bress like it looks, because that can't be it. It's got to be like Oshu Brie or something like that. But if you give them a biofactory embryo, it doesn't really discount the drug price that they sell, but suddenly you can get like 1,600 units instead of the like 1,000 units before. So you can do a larger bulk shipment of the druggists. Then there's the lovely trick of giving the pristine nanoforge to the Captain Starworks, the pirates.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy! So this is what inspired me to start experimenting with giving these items to other colonies, because the reason that works is because the Starworks' their access is so low that they can't trade. They can't get rid of the surplus. That's why there's such a surplus. That's why everything is so discounted. So I was looking at like, all right, well, where else is there like, a place where there's bad access, where they could end up with a surplus if I gave them this embryo? And that's why I gave one to the Pathers. And it works, except they always are getting raided by the Connie pirates.
Wow.
So they don't have the organics they need in order to keep it running. So so very rarely can you get it. Plus, because luxury goods are illegal, you can only get the domestic goods. Which, to me, that's fine, because you can deal domestic goods in units of thousands, and it's got, they're very cheap, so it's if you are low on funds, you can get in there and start a trade sequence where you buy out a bunch of domestic goods for a very cheap price, go and sell them somewhere to get some more money, which you then take to the Starworks to buy your cheap weapons and supplies, which you then go sell, and then you can go buy some drugs at a huge volume, and go sell them, and suddenly you went from having 20 to 30K to $500,000 to $1 million.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, and it's really handy to be able to do it when you oops, I hit 0. Better run to the colony real quick, withdraw some stuff on credit, and do a quick trade hustle to get out of debt. Then, of course, there's installing the orbital lamp. if you install the orbital lamp somewhere, it creates a volatile shortage, and then you can just abuse that by selling the volatiles. Well, I also wanted to experiment. I haven't found a file. I didn't find any orbital lamps on that exploration. I'm excited to experiment with, instead of installing it randomly, installing it specifically on planets that are part of the volatile market. So, like, find planets where they are actually they're cold planets, so they'll install it, and they represent a significant portion of the volatile market. So not only are you creating a demand, but you are instantly flipping, like, the market. Like, let me show you where is it? Am I at Colony? Yes. So, like, if you go to the market share here, so these are mine. Ilm. Is it Ilm? No, not Ilm. Not Eventide. Aylmer. So Aylmer is 9% of the market, and they have 4. If you gave them that, 9% of the market of volatiles vanishes, because they're going to use all 4 of that for the orbital lamp. And it's going to create a demand for 6 more. So it's like, okay, we can really abuse this market here. I want to say Ilm is also... Whoops, I alt-tabbed instead of tabbing. I want to say Ilm is also cold. I forget exactly how I set it up. Yeah, Ilm is no, that's not Ilm. Yeah, Ilm is also cold. So you do the same thing here, and that's 6 volatiles. Again, vanishes off the market. So with 2 orbital lamps, you can take 20% of the volatiles market off the market. And create a demand, because they can't supply it all themselves either. So now there's an extra 10 units of demand on the market as well. Like, I'm really getting into abusing the economy with these unique items. That's the one thing that isn't in this patch that I wish was some more of these unique colony items.
Yeah, when I get into colony building, especially, I have a lot of fun with that.
One of the things I also noticed, I'm going to turn this down, it's really loud in my ears. I can't imagine how loud it is for people watching. Sorry, people. One of the things I noticed while exploring this was there are some planets that have they're tundra. Here's one of them. I didn't realize that. Whoops, hi Brussels. Like Ocean Brie here. It's a tundra world, but it's not cold.
Oh.
And that's because they have an orbital mirror array that was completed shortly before the collapse. It even says it in the tooltip. And I was like, because I was looking for like places that I could install it just to create a demand, because this would have instantly created a 10 volatile demand here on this planet. And I was like, okay, that's great, because that's part of my trade route. I could bring volatiles to Ocean Brie and sell them that, and then pick up drugs, and then run off and go sell the drugs. And then I was like, wait a minute, it's not actually cold. What the hell? And there's another one too over here in Madeira. Yeah, Madeira, another tundra that's not cold. It's like, what the hell? But it says it in its thing that it's like, I forget where, but it says somewhere that it's notably like not as. No, it doesn't say it here. Yeah, vast storm-swept ice fields. No, it's not. It's not cold. It specifically says it's not cold. Whatever. The core world planets are very strange. Very strange. Not to mention some of them are like very unique. Like, good luck finding one of these out there. This little turd ball here. It's one of the reasons why I like colonizing Duzok, because I love the look of Aka Menu. It's just so pretty. Plus,
gas giant though. Why would he colonize that?
All right, let's go visit, and you'll see why. Oh man, I love it because like so many of the people, they either hate this system completely or they've never heard of it because it's not a really good system. But I like it now because it's central, and the reason why I end up colonizing is because I'll have the plasma dynamo and I won't. And I just want to. And that there's nowhere to put it. None of the core worlds are on gas giants. There's not a single one. And so I'll put it here. But like, just look out in deep space. See how that's moving? How fast that's moving?
Gravity.
That's because it is literally right next to the star. And if you drop in on it and you get caught on this side, this is an ion storm. It pushes you away, and the star pushes you towards it. You can get stuck in there. It is so hilarious. Not to mention this whole magnetic field basically hides everyone. Like, it is and it's so fast. Look how fast it moves. Like, you have to chase it sometimes to catch it. It's hilarious. And then,
Pirates there.
Yeah, little scumbags. We love them.
Take them out right now.
Yeah, alright, we can do it.
Take out the station.
We can do it, we can make it happen. Hey, boys. Oh, not raid. No, I'll fly the Omen. Heck that. Let's go in. No, everyone. I said, hold on. I got my tiny fleet size. There we go, let's go. Get in there. You can do it.
That's all the DP you have?
We can do it.
That's it?
Let's get in there.
Oh, I forgot. You don't have RAM.
No, I don't. And that's the reason why I did that at first. But honestly, it changed up the tactics of combat so much that I really enjoyed it. But the game is really not balanced for it. Because like the enemy fleets don't know how to behave or deploy at all when you play with 200 instead of 400. Alright.
Oh, I said to 1,000.
Yeah, I will. Hello. Oh, I bumped it. I bonked it. Filthy scrub. Yeah, alright. Which I just gave it a little tippy tap. I don't know why it completely popped me. Alright, here we go.
Wow.
This station is completely worthless.
Falcons are like one of the most popular player ships to use.
They're pretty good. I think it's because they're easy to manage the flux. The Pirate Falcon especially. You just put a bunch of weapons on it, and that's it. Yeah, I love this. This station is getting completely shut down by a single Omen. One zappy boy.
Goodness.
Because I can get around their shields. Like, now I don't even need this awkward placement. I can just hide out over here on the other side where there's no guns anymore. And just reach up under his shield and zap all of his weapons. Just completely shut him down.
That's not an orc. That's a goblin.
Yeah, a little ankle biter Omen with an antimatter blaster. Is this one safety overrides? I like doing the safety overrides Omen because they're fast. No, this is not safety overrides. It's regular.
Dude, the regular Omen is pretty fast though.
It is, but with safety overrides, it's insane. Like, I can pull off some crazy nonsense with a safety overdrive. And hardened shields as well. While having field modulation specialized. Because, like, your shields are so tough that you can shrug off a lot of basic attacks.
In Trumbo.
It's so good. So I'll screen for larger ships. I'll jump in front of Reapers because I can shrug it off. Or if it does pop me, it'll treat me a lot gentler than it will having like a bigger ship get popped. Well, like, the fact that I have oh, I lost the Falcon. Oh well, he came back. Like the fact that what was I saying? I have not this character, but other characters. I'll have like the different skills to help with my venting, to help with my shrugging off, especially field modulation while having hardened shields. Like, I can catch the Reaper and potentially not even pop. But if I do pop, my maneuverability is so much so that I can then immediately move around behind the ship that I screened for, and they can now screen for me while I recover. Whereas if they got popped, they're freaking screwed because there's some big dumb ship that can't move. So, like, yeah, I'll fly in front of, like, bomber wings and just eat all their mines and stuff. Like, I'll do all kinds of crazy stuff inside of that thing. And that's what I kind of meant earlier when I was saying, like, I know that my one ship can really swing a fight compared to some of these other ships. Oh, I gotta get a dock to do that.
Boom.
I wanted to show off the difference in the safety override. Oh my lordy, the lag here. Well, this is also because, I have Chrome open, I have Discord open. Normally it's just, the game in OBS.
Oh, we can end the call, if I'm lagging you too hard.
No, I'm not looking here to play it. I just wanted to show you this silly ship real quick with the safety overrides. Because we're supposed to be talking about notes. But yeah, with the safety overrides, like, oops. Wrong button. The, like, difference in the mobility as well is crazy. Like, you can pivot around things so quickly, get like an extra 50 speed, and just make some obscene maneuvers that you wouldn't otherwise be able to do in smaller craft, or especially in larger craft. But, like, the only thing faster than a safety override's Omen is the Tempest, I believe. Also safety overridden. Like
Tempest, good frigate.
Yeah, Tempest is one of my favorites. It's pretty good.
Overpowered.
I mean, I'm doing the Tempest Wolfpack. One of the changes they made was that, forget where it is, I think it's up in combat. The Terminator drones no longer deal friendly fire damage. I'm glad they changed that, because I was noticing that as I was flying around these little buggers, and they were slinging their Terminators everywhere, that I was getting caught in some of these explosions, and it was doing some serious damage. Like, especially when they just, like, blow up because they don't make it all the way. Like, I'm pretty sure I was in a Harbinger coming out of phase space, and a Terminator popped, like, right on top of me and just completely obliterated my armor, and took, like, half my hull with it. And it's like, what the hell? First of all, why is this guy slinging his Terminators around like they're, like, just against no one? But holy crap, the friendly fire. What the hell, guy? You saw me phased in there. Why did you sling that guy through my path? So yeah, it looks like a lot of these mods then, I guess, are related to the new weapons they added. Like, changing around, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And, always keep them pulled back. Like, I like that, the new fighter wing thing where you can set your fighter wing to be at a 0. That's so cool. Because I like the escort fighters. I'm definitely going to use that whenever I make Falcons with converted hangars. Because I don't put the hanger on a Falcon, or the fighter bay on a Falcon, so that I can have more fighters running around the battlefield. I put the fighter bay on the Falcon, so the Falcon can have some point defense.
Ooh, I should make a fucking fighter Falcon right now.
They're good. The pirate ones, because you don't have to really put anything in vents, because you just cover it in missiles. Yeah, you put fighter wings on it, and then you just give it some ridiculous fighter wing. Like, you have a lot of extra space on those things. There's a reason why they cost 20 to deploy instead of 16. They're really good. They also come with, like, the free unstable injector and augmented dry field, so they have a burn of 11. So if you're looking for a cruiser to roll around with your Tempests, it's the Pirate Falcon. Because it won't slow them down.
Yeah.
And it brings some extra fighter support, because, the Tempests, they don't have fighters. They basically just have torpedoes that hang around. Half of my Tempests will only have one Terminator if they have any. Because they're too busy slinging them around. Which is honestly what I built them for. I literally put officers in them that had systems expertise, so they would sling them as fast as possible, and then I got the skill, the carrier commands skill, the one that you can replenish fighters faster, specifically so they would be able to sling as many Terminators as possible. and it's working. Like when we get
Oh my
down to the
goodness.
last enemy and the shields pop, like they'll literally sling all of them. Every single one of these guys will throw their Terminators. So the last enemy every time gets hit with 8 Terminators at once. It's hilarious, and that's like 4,800 damage.
That's a lot of damage.
It's a lot of damage. Tons of damage. That's what it was. I was like trying to remember what was the other one. That's a lot of damage. Is the one guy, but tons of damage was like the League of Legends meme. I think it was. And then there's emotional damage. All right, yeah, you're probably right though. It is getting late. My brain is starting to fry. Um,
Yeah.
Bug
That's
fixes are
fun.
fantastic. Like this is normally around the time when I start winding down, and I gotta get ready to drive someone into work
Yeah.
anyway. So this works out.
You gotta go to work, buddy.
So thank you for joining me. I'm excited to see a lot of this actually come out. And what are you working on right now?
Um, I'm working on a mech for my Asura.
A mech?
Yeah.
Yeah, alright. I mean, I've heard about there's some mods with it, like, add mechs to the game. Like, I'm gonna have to come check that out then. Because, one of the things I was
Armor
literally...
Armatura is a really fun kind of thing. It's good.
Yeah, one of the things I, wanted to look into was that mech mod, because I have a severe lack of games that have mechs. Once you mod, you can't
Oh, wow.
stop. Yeah, I know, I kind of get that, because that's sort of the reason why I've been, like, this adamant vanilla player, is, I've gone through that. I've done that with, like, Skyrim and Fallout and Doom and all these other games. It's like, I get one mod, and then it's just like, alright, well, now I have to just get all the mods. Or, like, Minecraft, I mod it so much that my poor little 8 gigabyte RAM having toaster starts, frying up a little too much.
Have you played Gundam Evolution before?
No, not familiar.
Have you watched the original Gundam series?
No. I played Dynasty Warriors Gundam. That is my experience with Gundam.
Uh,
I,
watch the original, like I think it was like the original series, Universal Century. Yeah, you should watch that.
yeah, I mean, like, I I've heard good things about the original Gundam. I've heard good things about Gundam in general. It's just one of those things where I don't watch a lot of anime, and the anime I do tend to watch tends to be, like, really specific in that it's, the storytelling is really good.
Yeah.
Hey, Dirt Master. Armor, Armature, Craze. Not familiar with that either. Hey, and thanks for the follow, too. I appreciate it. Yeah, I just set my notifications up, and I've got this noise that's kind of like a techie noise. And the first time it happened, I was in deep space, and I'm like, what the hell is that? Is a remnant coming to get me? What's going on? And I realized it was my alert. um, well, honestly, I don't mind, like, one of the things I'm doing for Omni, and, well, Omni's doing for me, vice versa, is testing out these mods. Like, that's part of the reason why I'm so strict on vanilla, and I've been playing vanilla so much, is I want to get very, very familiar with vanilla and the balance in vanilla, so that as I start exploring mods, I actually have a proper, like, view of what is and isn't balanced, because I've changed what I've felt like almost every single time I do a new playthrough, I find a new weapon that I've been sleeping on, or a new ship loadout that changes the game, and I'm like, how has nobody seen this before? And it's like,
What would you say is the proper term for that when you find something that's really powerful?
Um, well, like, originally I used to think that the LP Brawler was straight up OP. But then it's like, but then again, it's
Can you say like the non-hyphenated version of OP for me?
oh, overpowered.
You said the line, fellas. We got him. Go home. Sorry, I had to expose you.
These things happen. Anyway. So, as far as overpowered is concerned, what I'm learning is that the player flying something versus the AI flying something are night and day. Like, you can give the most overpowered ship and loadout to the AI and watch them crash it straight into the ground. And
I don't trust the AI with anything.
Yeah, they're pretty terrible, which is why I'm really glad to see in these patch notes that we're getting a lot of fixes to some stuff that I was specifically upset about when it comes to the AI. So that's going to be really nice. So I really wanted to have a very good understanding of that so that as I started going into mods, I would be, I feel a little more confident in giving my opinion and my critique to mods and things like that. Because, yeah, an AI combat mod would be amazing. Or update. Well, there is one. Awesome Wombat. Good to see you. Yeah, the patch notes just dropped for 0.96. Good morning, by the way. The patch notes are out, and they are updating the AI in a lot of different ways, but specifically this bit here, for those of you who are joining us, fixed issue that could cause ships to refuse to engage when given an eliminate order and some specific number/size of ships on each side. What I have been referring to as the hidden morale stat is a real thing. I thought I was gaslighting myself. I thought I was just terrible at the game. No, it turns out that when you're in a battle where it's a difficult battle, especially because you're outnumbered, your AI suddenly turns into screaming little children, and they want to literally hide behind you. I have a point where I had several frigates hiding behind my capital ship when I needed them to engage the enemy. Or I would be watching this guy, going back and forth and not doing anything as he's absorbing damage into his shield when he could be firing or doing something, anything, to distract the enemy or to engage the enemy. This is a real problem, and it's finally getting addressed. Oh, man. So, yeah, there's a whole page in here that is basically so much better for the game in general. Here's another one that's very important. Improves danger detection for mines. Basically any space fort or star fortress.
We saw that.
Yeah, any of them that have minefields. What is with these ships? Will just fly straight into them. You can see them. They're right there. Oh man. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff here that is very good. But I want to get going. I got to cut Casey loose. I mean, you got stuff to do, and I got stuff to do. Thank you very much for joining me.
The podcast.
Yeah, I know. I've only been at it for 7 hours, which isn't unusual, even with the constant talking. That's not too unusual for me. All right. Most of you, I guess, half of you came from. Are you live right now? Because I was going to send these fine folk your way.
We have been watching you.
That's what I figured. So you guys are all already there. So I don't even need a raid. Forget that. It doesn't work on my end anyway. So thank you all for joining me. I appreciate it. I'm going to chop this up into 3 sections where, because at the first 3 hours I talked about weapons and the ships endlessly. The next 3 hours was a bunch of other dumb stuff. So I'll chop this up, put the VODs on highlight, and put them on YouTube. I'll link them in the Discord, so you can find them there. I'll probably throw them up on Reddit. Gotta pimp myself out. And
gotta get those sweet upvotes from Reddit.
Oh boy.
I crave those.
Oh boy. Well, like when I post on Reddit, I do get people. Half my views end up coming from Reddit that day, so it's just nice. But yeah. But my main thing is I want to make the content for the people. Like that's the thing, and
For the people, by the people.
Yeah, and if hearing me rant for 7 hours about the patch notes helps anyone, then yeah, hooray. Good for us. So, thanks team. Good job. Have a good night. Thank you again, Casey, for joining me and entertaining me. Entertaining my goofiness. And I appreciate all y'all who followed me recently. Oswombat, it's good to see you as well. And hope you all have a good night. See y'all later.
See ya!